Truly. Today, all right.
All right. So, warm welcomes and greetings, lovely, beautiful people. I am General Bradley 101, and I am joined by the amazing gaming storyteller, aka Dutch. Say
Hello,
hi, my
hello.
friend.
Hello, hello.
And this is Hammertalk, but a
Woo!
special episode, the inebriated episode. I have come from yesterday about I don't know, a 16-hour long meeting, and Dunch is drunk on cheese vodka. Not actually, but he pretty much should be. So he's drunk. I'm tired as all hell. So that means this is going to be a bloody funny episode. And even more so, because in today's episode, we are discussing on what if the Emperor of Mankind was not such a dick to Angron. Seriously, what did my
True.
boy do?
What
What
that
did my
man
boy do?
ever do to anyone?
He was born. He is the literal meme of Homeboy being born. But as always, we're going to chuck it over to Mr. Dutch 40k over here to give us a little quick introduction on why are we right to say that the Emperor was a very bad dad?
Well, if we look at the overall 40k setting, Games Workshop seems to have a certain preference to bring up the same issue over and over again in honestly any part of their lore. From the Astartes to their Primarch fathers themselves, worrying about what their dad thinks of them and taking pride in when their dad praises them, but also taking extra great loss when their dad bullies them. We can see this with the World Eaters, how the World Eaters felt absolutely terrible when Angron didn't want to accept them as his own children. Well,
Well, I mean, he did more than that. He beat to death like 7 of their captains.
which is quite funny
It's like,
because on the 8th captain, haha, funny number 8,
funny number.
on funny number 8, he did finally go help out his legion. But this seems to be a specific writing point within Games Workshop itself to always write about daddy issues. And of course, in the 40k setting, Bradley, who is the biggest dad of them all, the biggest daddy in the whole setting?
I don't like answering that question, especially with the amount of Slanesh fans we have, but that would be Mr. Biggie himself, Lord Emperor of Mankind.
Exactly. And as he is the biggest dad of them all, with 20 very special, well, 21 very
18.
special sons.
No, don't worry, Inquisition. Nothing going on here. We're just talking about the Emperor's 18 sons.
It could have been 21 if he was a good dad, okay? He is a pretty good, well, he's supposed to be a good father for his 18 sons, to reach the end of his crusade and to make sure his goals will be reached. He made sure to be a good father. But in the end,
Bullshit.
he didn't at all. Every mistake, every single little mistake a dad can make, the Emperor has made. So badly, even, that the Primarch's mother, Erda herself, did not want to work with him towards the end of their creation. That's how bad his plans was. Instead of using them as, his sons, having a friendly conversation with them, making sure they're alright, maybe even emotionally stable. Imagine that, emotionally stable soldiers. That'd be awesome. No. Instead of that, he used them as goddamn tools. Like actual tools. Bertarabo was just yeeted into the universe being like, now go be a war machine. Horus was just left with so much to ask, so much left to wonder about by himself. And even Bobby G started a second Imperium because he just wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad it is. And that's how bad the Emperor was as a father. He did not create any trust in his sons. And honestly, any mistake, anything we have going on in the 40k setting right now can be partially blamed to him just being a terrible person. So, let's just, I guess, start with it all. To maybe wonder, how did we get here? Why is the Emperor such a bad father? Who is the Emperor. You want to take this away,
Oh.
Bradley?
Of course. So, who is the Big E? If anyone is watching, he is the worst dad in existence. This has been established. But for any of our newcomers, short explanation. He's essentially the pinnacle of humanity. Well, not actually, because he's kind of an asshole. But physically, he's the pinnacle of what the human race could be. He is a ultra god level psyker. Like, he is on par with the old school old ones. And he happens to be like, what, 12 foot, 13, 15 foot tall? How tall exactly is he?
Depending on
He's
how
like the
large
tallest.
he wants to be seen. Because we know he's capable of changing his size on will.
Yeah. But like physically, he's like, what, 12, 13 feet tall?
Yeah, at least 12
Like,
feet.
around about that.
Like straight up 12 feet.
Yeah. So he is massive. He is built like a brick shithouse. Homeboy took more roids than goddamn who knows what.
He's a bigger liver king.
Yeah, pretty much. Homeboy is built different. But he is the pinnacle of humankind. And his goal for the Great Crusade was, in essence, to gather every single human, take them into the webway, which would then create a new dimension for where humanity would have time to develop without chaos. The Emperor's theory being that if humanity did not have chaos, and under his and his son's vision and guidance, every one of them would become one of him. Thus, humanity would essentially become on par with the old ones, which some people believe is actually the original goal of the old ones, was to get these new races to eventually coalesce and join them in a type of same sentienthood. Also, a reason why some people try and justify why they didn't help out the Necrons, because they were like, hey, you guys need to build this on your own, you know. But that's the long end and the short end of it. He wants to make humanity into superhuman.
Yeah.
And to do that, he created the Thunder Legions. The Thunder Legions were the Proto-Space Marines. Now, they had two slight but glaring issues. Actually, no, they weren't slight. They were big issues.
They were big issues.
One, they would explode in a ball of rage and bloodlust, killing and slaughtering everything. About 10 minutes later, they would then literally explode in a ball of gore. Because they were unstable genetically. They were literally ticking time bombs, both mentally, in which case they would snap and enter a berserker rage, and physically, in which case, I quote, the worst issue of the Thunder Warriors was that in time, their body would fail them and their blood would rebel. That's an exact quote. Their blood would literally combust.
That's an incredibly, like, I could just imagine it. Imagine you're like a techno-barbarian at that time. You're fighting in the trenches. You are seeing a Thunder Warrior rampage throughout your squad. Your whole platoon is now dead. It's just you against a Thunder Warrior. He is just drooling from the mouth, foaming. He runs at you, and before he reaches you, he combusts and just fucking explodes.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't understand, like, the Great Crusade was very, very different. Like, the Horus Heresy and the Great Crusade were on another levels compared to 40k, but the reunification wars were even worse than that. Because, like, people, like, don't even understand. It was crazy how much the fight was.
It was barbaric. They were using nukes on an already destroyed planet, and
I mean, shit, the only reason why we don't use nukes now is because, you know, our shit isn't destroyed, but I mean, if you're already living a nucleated, radiated wasteland...
it doesn't matter.
Shit, I mean, shit's already fucked, we're not gonna fuck it up anymore.
Could get worse than this.
Oh, but it could. Why? Because eventually he would replace them with the Space Marines. But unlike the Space Marines, who did not combust, because they had gene sires. Purple? Fuck? Oh my god.
Purpose.
Jesus Christ alive. They had fathers, these gene sires. They would take their genomes and they would give it unto their sons. So they would have a stable template to draw from.
Yeah.
So that's why he needed 20 original Primarchs to not only be the generals and his tools, as he put it, but also to give him super soldiers that wouldn't combust. Now, back earlier, I memed on saying that there are only 18. That's because there are 2. the Purged and the Forgotten. Now, these two guys did something very, very bad, that they were purged and all records were expunged from the entirety of the history of the Imperium. And the remaining legions were folded into the Imperial Fists and Ultramarines, respectively. What did they do? Well, nothing, really.
Probably.
Because, no, GW just, they literally did nothing. GW has them there so you can make your own made-up legions, one traitor, one...
Yeah,
Yeah.
you decide
One
what they
works.
did. Fill it in yourself. Have fun. Here's a
Yeah.
coloring book.
So, like, we will never get that law, which is so annoying.
It really is.
It's-
As a lore master, that is just the biggest pain in the ass.
Yeah, it's like, why did this happen? Oh, well, actually, yes, this out for a reason, but you'll never know. But we'll reference it all the time because fuck you.
Well, at least, okay, so that gave at least a little rundown as to how the Emperor is. Because in the end, right, he had the Thunder Warriors. He replaced them with the Astartes. And the Emperor doesn't like using up his tools. No. He will just throw it away. Instead of, using the last little bits of your stone pickaxe in Minecraft, no, he yeets it into lava and gets out the diamond pickaxe now. He looked at his Thunder Warriors and he destroyed them. Together with the Custodes and the very first battle the Astartes partake in, they destroyed, just absolutely murder house.
Oh,
The
yeah,
Thunder
what
Warriors.
was it? On a hill. It was a name
was
of a biblical name.
Yeah, it was like a mountain peak.
Mount Sinai. There we are. 10 Commandments.
Ah, the 10 Commandments peak. Well, after that, there was no more commandments left, that's for sure. But,
And lo, behold, did a god appear before them. And upon them did they enter to beseech their glory from their king. But woe betide them, for by strands of gold and bolts of lightning were they smoked. Thus did him who created him have turned their backs upon his children, and so too did they flee in the night in an effort to escape the wrath of the Emperor of mankind.
God, a great excerpt. So,
That was an excerpt. I just made that shit from my
No.
head. I'm
it's even
tired
better.
when I when I get tired, I just drop shit like that.
I'm drunk, I ain't doing
Fucking-
that today. So, alright,
Fucking tired, man.
we now
Jesus
know
Christ.
how the Emperor works. He was the pinnacle of existence, really. He was the best we could ever
Yeah.
bring. He was the god, the ultimate human to bring us into the golden age, to make us like him and live a perpetual life. He would remove his
He was
tools.
level 100 prestige.
Yes. Yeah, true. But the thing is he was also very cold and calculated. He was the best that humanity had to offer, but also the worst that humanity had to offer. The
Also-
way he worked is just he killed his tools after they were done. So I guess we can then go into the same question. But being a dad, why did he even have children, for the love of God? Because this man was not a good dad about it. But within the first description, we can already kind of see where it goes wrong. He creates tools with the purpose of destroying them later. He calls them tools. To us, they are humans. They are creatures with a soul. For them,
Yeah.
it's just a tool. Because he's also, in every way and sense, the ultimate human. Including also the ultimately bad human. To him, they are just a tool to be used to bring humanity further as a whole. And then to be shedded into the darkness, or removed from history if it fits his headcanon. So,
Yeah. And
go ahead.
yeah, go on. No, crack on.
All right. So, as we know, he created the Thunder Warriors and removed them afterwards. He now created the Primarchs to make a stable gene seed line to create Space Marines. The Space Marines were the next step in having biologically engineered superhumans to unite humanity during the Great Crusade. But the issue is, with creating these sons, he cared just as much. He cared probably just about as much about his Primarchs as he did about the Thunder Warriors, meaning nothing.
Yeah.
They were just meant to do what they were meant to do. With some, he would put on a facade because that would help with getting them to do the things he wanted to. But through a lot of conversations and through a lot of his actions, his punishments are not punishments. They're torture. They're just letting people know how big his dick is, really. Like, think about Monarchia, the city of Kur from the Word Bearers. The perfect city. That was unnecessary. For those that don't know, the Word Bearers are a legion of Space Marines, one of the 20 sons, Logar, that were highly religious, and with that, they would take a very long time to.
So imagine the most persistent Jehovah's Witness you've ever seen in your life, but with guns. Very big guns.
Yeah, they're Jehovah Witnesses with guns. And they were taking a very long time because of that. Because instead of just destroying a planet to be like, you're part of the Imperium now, they would take time and teach the people and bring them into compliance through not only force, but also religion. The Emperor was already trying to create a secular state in which there was no religion. But...
Okay, that's so dumb.
Right?
Like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we need to touch upon this. Reason number one, you guys can make notes of this as to why he's a bad dad. The Chaos Gods. And this is literally a bad thing in parroting. Like, this isn't even a joke. He made the conscious idea to be like, hey, don't do drugs. Why? If you ask me again, I'm going to hit you across the face. Just don't do them.
Yeah, don't do drugs. Just no explanation after that.
Legit, it was like, hey, don't do this. Why? Tell me about it. He literally told the entire Imperium, there are no gods, period. Do not worship gods. If you worship gods, you die. Literally.
Yeah.
And that's so stupid. Because there are so many times where Horus and especially Fulgrim found out about chaos and was like, oh, this is cool. And Horus literally quotes, oh, this wouldn't be a problem. My dad would have told me. He literally says that.
Oh, yeah, they're just an alien empire in a weird reality. That's funny. Like...
Yeah, he literally said that. I'm just like, bruh. Oh, like, if Big E told his sons about it, Magnus would have stayed away from the fucking warp. Because there's a difference between saying you don't know what you're doing and, hey, if you stick your dick in there, the tentacle monster is going to eat it.
Exactly.
And not in the good way.
So, yeah. The Emperor creates his tools. He doesn't tell them about all the contacts within the universe. He knows about the Chaos Gods. He is most likely spoken to them to even get the Primarch powers. And then instead of warning his children, he just tells them, I'll kill you if you think about this. Which, in reality, with any human, probably any person you've ever met, if you tell them don't do this, the very first thing they'll go do is exactly what you told them not to do. It's the very first thing humans do.
Unless you explain to them why.
Unless you explain the consequences of their actions.
Yeah, because if someone says to you like, hey, don't push this button, you're going to want to push it. But they say, hey, don't push this button. If you do, it will launch a nuke and kill all of humanity. You're not going to press the fucking button, mate.
Yeah, you're kind of terrified. I mean, like, oh, that does not sound like a great idea. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Yeah. I'm going to stay away from that button.
Yeah, let's just not touch that button, right? So...
No. And then...
What would be his goal, though? Why would he, for example, in this case, not tell his children... like, Malkador knew, but anyone else. Why would he not tell anyone else about it? If even not all of his sons... Like, Angron probably wouldn't give a shit. Conrad Curse would be like, yeah, whatever. Alfarius probably already knew anyway. And then Magnus could have actually used that information wisely, because the warp is an incredible powerful source. It's so important. Yet, if you don't understand it, you can't use it correctly. It's like playing around with uranium. If you touch it, you're gonna fucking die. I, by the way, for the people in the stream, even though I am drunk, I am still a studied pharmacist. I know about this stuff. I did a piece about uranium. It's quite hilarious. But going back to the story.
Radiation kills.
Radiation kills. Who would have tugged?
Who would have thought?
Who would have tugged? The same goes with chaos. You play around with it, you touch it, you die, really. Or at least it corrupts you to the point you might as well be dead. If the Emperor had just told them about don't touch the purple goop coming out of the wall because it's bad for you, they would have understood. But instead, he just told them
bad touch,
no touchy, touchy bad. Yeah. Why would he do this though? It's said that the Emperor did it because he wanted to protect humanity, and the less taught, the less knowledge about chaos would mean they have less power. But that's simply not how the Chaos Gods work.
No. His idea behind it was, hey, I am going to get rid of religion. If there's no religion, the Chaos Gods won't be fed because people won't believe in them. right? Which kind of is how they work a little bit, but here's a big thing. People often like to defend the Emperor, being like, "Oh, he's cold, but he's not an asshole. He's just cold. You know, he has no emotions." I'm like, no, he has emotions because he's an arrogant prick, and this is why I'm going to bring up two examples. One, if he wanted to, right? If he wanted to, he could have. If he was, cold, uncalculating, he would have made the logical calculation that humans are moved by faith. And he would have put on a charade of being God. Because if a motherfucker that's 12 feet tall, clad in golden armor, and angelic light descends from me, saying, "I'm God," I'm like, yep, okie dokie.
Yeah, all right, yeah, that's just the way it is now, I guess.
Yeah. He could have done that, and he could have said, "Beware the evil devils, the 4 demons of hell that will try and kill us." And immediately, the entirety of humanity is going to shift to his side. And the small remnants that do stay to him are going to be hunted and purged in fire. We already see how good that works today in the modern 40k.
Exactly. Heretics just get absolutely obliterated.
Exactly. A little too much, but that's the problem with modern 40k.
Yeah, that's
but
just 40k.
He didn't. He didn't. Why didn't he? Because he, as a person, hates gods. He hates the idea of faith. Yeah. He hates the idea of hope.
Hates blinded
He
him.
is... Yeah, he just hates it. Because he's someone who, throughout his life, is like, there is no such thing as faith or hope. You follow what's written. You do what I say. He's a control freak. He doesn't like the idea of leaving things up to chance. Back to the story of the last church. Oh. How petty do you have to be to literally look at an old preacher, an old crippled man, burn his church and tell him, "There is no God, all of it was been for naught, Lamau, I was the God, get wrecked."
Yeah, it's just straight up a teabag. He is just teabagging him. Yeah. And it's so unnecessary. Because in the end,
so unnecessary.
I guess the important thing that a lot of people forget about with the Emperor, even though he is the perfect human, he is not actually perfect. He is just the ultimate human. Everything within us is made 10 times worse, including our pettiness and hate. The Emperor is very wrathful. This man hates shit.
He is a spiteful prick.
Oh, yes.
And the funny thing is that you have other humans that are on the Emp's level, like Erida Astartes. For those who don't know, that's the Astartes' mom, quote unquote. She was the head perpetual of the Emperor's colleagues who helped her, and that's where the name Astartes comes from, her surname.
Yeah,
she was said to be kind and loving and caring. And she saw so much disgust in the Emperor and what he was doing that she legit yeeted the kids, the Primarchs, out of his hands into the warp, because in her mind, them landing on random planets would be better than the Emperor having them.
Which is that just puts into context, even before the Great Crusade, how much of just an awful being he is. Like, he tries his best for the whole of humanity, but his methods are just unnecessary.
But the thing is, though, he has a god complex.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Like, the Emperor knows that humanity needs to do this, right? We need to transcend because, well, there's some scary shit in out there, all right? But he is the definition. He's a classic arrogant asshole with a god complex. You know, as having been someone who works with people and work in counseling, and like a psychologist could read him like a fucking back of their hand.
Oh, you're hateful, spiteful, you're a control freak, and you're an asshole.
Yeah, and he thinks that his way is the only best way. He doesn't compromise.
Yeah.
I mean, legit, he had a group of followers, but then he drove them all away because he is the perfect idea of, hey, he just is like, oh, the ends justify the means. I'm like, nah. Biggie, it doesn't. Because you are not doing this for anyone else. You are doing this for yourself. Because at the end of the day, you could do things better, but you choose to do them this way. Same thing as I said before. He could have become a literal god, and everyone would have believed him.
Yeah. If he was just upfront about it.
The Mechanicus think he's a god.
Yeah.
The Mechanicus legit think he is a god. But the idea of him being a god is so abhorrent to him that he decides, no, we're going to do this my way. I am not going to be a god. You are going to do this my way.
Yeah.
And a perfect example of that, again, Monarchia. He did not need to do that.
He did not need to do Monarchia.
He is wrathful, and he is an asshole. And I'm actually really glad his shit got fucked up, like at the end of the heresy.
He deserved what got to him. He made mistakes and he paid for it. Like in the end result, no matter which option he went with, either he went with road A, being an absolute asshole father, the end result is about similar if he was not an asshole father. Because in the end, he wanted most likely to just become a god. He knew his purpose. He can see the future. He knew where he was going to end up no matter what. Either way, he could have gotten there, but it could have just been a nicer road, you know. At least people could have looked back on it and be like, "Oh, that was great. That was awesome."
You know what's ironic? Is that any one of his sons, you know, Kurz and Angron included, if they had what the Emperor had, they would have done a much better job than him.
Yeah.
Because all of his sons have at least some redeeming qualities. Big E, the more I read about him, I thought he would have some, but it's like, no. Like, unlike your sons, you had everything. You had thousands of years to see a fucking therapist, my guy.
He's seen empires rise and fall and never chose to go to a therapist once.
Because he's arrogant. Arrogance is something I fucking like. This is a personal thing, but I fucking despise arrogant people. It's just like, you would rather accept, you know, failure. You would rather accept hurting yourself instead of learning what to actually do from someone who knows what to do, instead of actually trying to be better. No, you're just going to accept mediocrity and failure because at the end of the day, it makes you feel better. It's like, I'm going to take a walk in the jungle. Hey, don't take a walk in the jungle. You might get bit by a snake. I'll be fine. Gets bit by a poisonous snake. I'm going to die rather than go and get help because I would admit that I was wrong. I'm like, you dumb motherfucker.
Yeah, just go back, bro. Just go ask for help. Okay, all right. So now we have established, why is he a bad dad? Like, we have established what he does wrong, his mindset, his arrogance, in which he makes the mistakes. I guess we can now also start looking at the theory of
okay, well,
the
that begs a question. It's like, why is it that he become the ultimate human? Like, anyone else would have done a better job than him. Like, Jesus Christ.
I guess it already starts wrong very early. As we know, he got, well, we don't know for sure, but it's heavily hinted towards that his
murder birth.
That his power, his knowledge, even the Primarch project, came from a deal he made with the Chaos Gods. He was willing
and then
to sell probably something awful for that.
I think it was part of his soul, if I'm not mistaken, or like the soul, because he is made up of multiple. Okay, so TLDR, the Emperor was born about several million years ago. Basically, a bunch of proto-psychers, about 10,000 of them, got together and committed ritualistic suicide and imbued all of their energy into one unborn child, which then became the Emperor. So he basically got a 10 millennia year start, which is why he's so OP.
Yeah.
So it was alleged that he would give a part of his soul, or like a couple souls each, because he can do that and not feel hollow.
Oh yeah, he's just a battery.
To the Chaos Gods. Again, this is alleged. This is a fan theory. We don't know because GW has never touched upon it, and they probably won't.
Yeah. So even by his creation, he was made to be better than everything else. And I can imagine for any human with any kind of human connections, being better than everyone else for such a long period of time, it's gonna turn you into an arrogant asshole.
I mean,
you see humanity go up, you see humanity go down, and you're like, I can do that better. I am better than every single one of them. But that's the thing. He's only a singular person.
Yeah.
He can't fight the fucking like universe by himself. He can't do that.
Mm-mm. It's one of those things where, like, obviously having that type of power will make you feel a little bit, you know, better about yourself. But it's definitely one of those things of, it's he needed. Well, ironically, he needed a dad.
Yeah.
To be frank.
It's so beautiful that Games Workshop's daddy issues get written so far that even the Emperor himself had daddy issues. It's bad when even the Emperor himself has lore-accurate daddy issues. But imagine this, Mr. Bradley. Imagine a world, imagine a universe in which the Emperor wasn't a terrible dad. Imagine he was actually a good father. And I think the most fun way to go through this, because the most interactions he got besides Malkador the Sigillite was the Primarchs, we should go through the list of the Primarchs and talk about what would have changed in their story, in their life, the way they would have received things. Let's just say the whole setting for the rest is the same. They don't turn traitor though. We just talk, let's say, Great Crusade, first 100 years. We get all the Primarchs together. They have still gone through their shit. Angron has still been blasted with a hammer from a young age. But the Emperor was a good dad. Let's talk about the whole list. And because I like starting with number 1, let's talk about Lionel Johnson. How would Lionel Johnson's life be changed for hopefully the better with the Emperor being a good father?
Okay. So, we're going for this assumption, ladies and gentle people. We're assuming that the Emperor is Mr. Smith. He's best dad. He's perfect dad.
He's perfect dad. He brings cookies at 3 a.m.
Yeah. Like the Biggie is the type of dad to catch you gaming at 3 a.m. and be like, move over, loser. I'm going to wreck you and join you with gaming to 3 a.m. He's that type of dad. Like, bro is quality. So, a lot of our talk is going to be centered around the
Primarchs?
Traitor. There we go. I'm tired. My brain switched off.
It's all good. I mean, that's why this is a 2-man show, because we got to get each other through this, man.
We have just enough brain power to make one brain cell.
Yes, sir. Right.
So, a lot of these are going to be focused on the traitor Primarchs. Well, most of the conversation will be because they're the most that would change. Because there's another a lot of these are fan theories because GW just, like I said, GW needs to structure their lore. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But the Emperor could see the future. So it's theory that Big E saw the betrayal and was like, hey, I'm going to be an asshole to those who are going to be an asshole to me. Which is also theorized that that's why they ended up becoming assholes, because he was such an asshole. The classic time shenanigan thing of, hey, I'm going to try and prevent this thing, Lamau, you actually made it happen by trying to prevent it.
My father was an asshole and beat me as a kid. I won't be like that. And then you turn out to be exactly like that. It's just the end-all trope. I'm very sorry for people in chat that have experienced that. Anyway, back to the conversation. Lionel Johnson. I think Lionel Johnson, out of all Primarchs, may have been the most aware of chaos. I think because a lot of his weaponry, he was the first Primarch. He was the Primarch that was given, honestly, everything. He was the test Primarch, but he was also perfect at everything. He had the best tools.
I think
and he had first
he
pick.
was the Primarch who was most aware of chaos in like be careful sense.
Yeah.
Like he knew the true nature of chaos.
He knew it
Whereas
was bad.
Magnus had direct contact with Tzeentch, but Magnus, like the Big E, was arrogant as a motherfucker.
Yeah. I don't think Lionel Johnson's life would have changed much with the Emperor being a good dad, besides maybe helping with his own social skills, because on multiple occasions we do see that the Lion is...
His
very
charisma is
socially adept.
Yeah, Homeboy got a 1 in charisma. With the Lion, I feel like the biggest impact would have been him as a person growing. Yeah. Because the reason why the Lion can't be the ruler of the Imperium, he has no people power. He has no political issue.
Yeah, he doesn't know how to handle
He's
people.
a general.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what Biggie... And here's a theory. The theory is the reason why he's so bullshit at dealing with people is because of the trauma he suffered in the first 10 years of his life. You know, being alone in the wilderness of Caliban. So having Big E actually care about him would have worked him through said trauma. And it would have allowed him to not necessarily be on the same level as Sanguinius or Guilliman, but it would have helped prevent a lot of the issues that happened with him and the Great Crusade and Horus Heresy of him butting heads with people.
Yeah.
A lot of the times he can be shown to be very just, angry. Like violence is his first language. Whereas I think the Emperor would have changed that to be, here's another alternative.
Exactly.
You don't need to do that.
All right, yeah. So just in his case, he'd just be more socially adept, and he'd probably be able to handle his whole, youth better if the Emperor was just there for at least a little bit to raise him after that. The Emperor is capable of a lot of things, including even psychological manipulation through using the warp. He could have helped Lion a lot.
Oh no, he could have done anything. Like I said, he's an asshole. I hate the Emperor.
Yeah, but now we're talking about him as a good guy, right? Imagine this, right? We're talking about him as a good guy.
If he was a good guy, dude, we would literally have, Chaos would be fucked. Because dude, he would have fixed all 20 Primox problems. Like even the Loyalist Primox who had issues, he would have fixed that shit because he would have actually cared.
Exactly.
So
and they would have cared more as well.
Exactly, because the Lion would have been calm. He would have been collected, and he would have been understanding. He wouldn't be such hot-headed and overconfident.
Exactly. All right, I
can't think of any particular reason in the lore where that caused him, except on Ultramar when he wanted to nuke the planet.
Yeah, that was a social skill issue where he just did not know how to handle this thing.
You have failed the vibe check.
You have failed the vibe check. I'm gonna nuke your planet.
And Guilliman being like, motherfucker, you are not nuking Space Rome. I just got new marble.
I just got my shoes polished. You won't destroy them, you asshole. Come down here and fight me like a real man. All right, let's talk about the next one, Fulgrim, because we're going to skip number 2 and 11 because we don't know anything. We don't know how we would have handled Waldo. Where is Waldo? Nobody knows. The Emperor does not either in this universe. So we're going to skip right over Waldo and go over to Fulgrim. Fulgrim.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go first because I'm gonna get ranty about this because the fall of Fulgrim is one of those things that messes with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
So Fulgrim did not start off well either. Honestly, this is the case with a lot of the Primarchs. They just did not have a good start. Everything was shit, honestly.
Bad RNG.
It was bad RNG for most of them. So for Fulgrim, it was especially bad. As a Primarch who is highly obsessed with perfection, he was blasted onto a planet like a mining colony and with no downtime, and he was forced to, in the end, by himself really, take over this planet. Make sure, the planet and the moon, I think even, take over the planet. Make sure people actually have some artistic expression time, have some time for themselves, some downtime, and try to perfect the lives of everybody, including himself. Then he got taken by the Emperor, and he did great. So well, in fact, that the Emperor gave him the Aquila to wear before other people were even allowed to wear the Aquila. But the issue is with Fulgrim is that Fulgrim had a lot of big issues, mental issues down there. This included about mainly his fear for being imperfect, which whenever he waged war, that got worse and worse, because he would see brothers do better than him, and to him it was a competition. He had to be the favorite son. He had to be the perfect Primarch. But nobody is perfect. And if the Emperor had just sat him down one day, be like, I'm proud of you, son. You did amazing. You are doing your best you can, and I could not wish for something better in you. His life would have been changed for the better. That is just one singular conversation. And especially if Fulgrim knew about warp, if he knew about the dangers of chaos, when he would have picked up the Lair Blade, he would have been like, oh, no, the sword started talking. Let's put that back where it belongs. If a sword starts talking to you, your dad should have told you about that and be like, hey, don't pick up talking swords. That's not a good idea. So for Fulgrim in that regard, I think he would have been able to stay loyal, definitely. Even if every bad thing happened, Fulgrim would have stayed loyal if only he knew how the Emperor genuinely felt about him as a good father. Plus, he would have not had the chance to be corrupted in that way. Because that's the only reason Fulgrim fell. It was not full free choice on his side. It was partially because he just didn't know. Because the Emperor, as a father, he done fucked up. Alright, Bradley, Go ahead with your theory.
So, I was someone who really hated Fulgrim before I looked into it and the Emperor's Children. And after looking into it, I that's when I really started to like hate the Emperor. So the reason why I feel so closely connected with Fulgrim is because Fulgrim is pretty much me from like an emotional standpoint. Like obviously it's different when it comes to the whole perfection and artistical type things, but I suffered from the same issues where like there was so much expectation, but good expectation. Like they were the Emperor's children.
Yeah.
The third legion, the purple, the royal legion. And having so much expectations, Fulgrim honestly felt very shit about himself. Like despite whatever vibrato he may put on, he only did that because he felt like he was shit. He hated himself.
Yeah, he did.
Because
Definitely.
he was like, I need to be better. I need to be better. I'm not good enough. I'm garbage. I'm shit. I'm useless. And that's like one difference where we differ is like he would try and overcompensate with like bravado, whereas I would undercompensate and be like, oh no, I'm just here. I exist.
Yeah.
And reading to him, especially how he fell to the layer blade, that scenario, it's heartbreaking.
It is. It really is.
Because I could see myself doing that, to be honest, if I was in Fulgrim's position. Because the way that it talks to him, because it hits all the right notes. I'm pretty sure that the chap who wrote it must have experienced it or got an input from someone who had experienced that, because it really, really sinks in.
To me, it feels
talks
very much like a drug story in a way, right? It's where you are forced to overperform by either your parents or your let's just say society as a whole. You're forced to overperform, and you're so scared of underperforming, you start using anything you find to help yourself. That's why some streamers use like any form of like even coke to keep going, and that's.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is honestly the same story as the Lair Blade. It was a drug to Fulgrim in honestly his biggest moment of weakness. Yeah,
because for me personally, I have been in places and times where I'm just like, I don't feel worthy enough, right? And when I read Fulgrim's Fall, I felt kind of betrayed in instance because I'm like, you're doing it wrong. You're supposed to stand up and say, no, I won't take the easy route. I will do it right way. I'll find a way to succeed. I will triumph over this. I'm not going to fall down this path. But then that's when I stopped blaming Fulgrim for his fall. I don't blame Fulgrim for his fall.
Yeah.
I think even saying Fulgrim was partially to blame for his fall is okay, but it's still a little harsh.
Yeah, because he was unaware. He was unaware of the situation, and he didn't know what he was getting himself in for. Because it wasn't his own free choice what he did.
No, it wasn't.
It was just no knowledge.
The layer blade completely manipulated him. But the thing is, though, I only think like that because I actually have parents who love and care for me.
Yeah.
And they actually show me love and compassion. So I have that strength to draw on from.
He didn't.
Fulgrim had nothing.
No one.
The brothers who didn't like him couldn't give a shit. Yeah. And the brothers who would offer him love and counsel, like Vulcan, like Sanguinius, he was too proud to ever admit that.
Yeah.
And it comes to a point where he is so lost and shattered that when something finally offers it to him, unlike most of us, unlike me, who had something to grab on and pull myself out of the mire, Fulgrim didn't had anything. And for those of you who are just curious, the current Fulgrim we have now is not Fulgrim.
No. That poor guy got yeeted out.
Fulgrim's soul died. It was shattered by the chaos demon within the layer blade.
Yeah.
It's the greater prince of one of the greater princes of Sinesh. I'm not entirely sure who or what. But that demon now possesses the body of Fulgrim. And Fulgrim didn't kill Ferrus Manus.
No, the Lair Blade did. Yeah.
Who killed him. Because as soon as Fulgrim picked up the blade, it possessed him.
Yeah, he was taken
He was-
over. His soul was yeeted out.
And that's so tragic to me because, as I said, if I didn't have the positive reinforcement that I had in my life, I would have ended up like Fulgrim.
Exactly. Well, I'm glad
that's
you
why-
didn't know.
Yeah, no, like sorry to get deep, but really, that's,
Oh yeah,
that's
no,
why
but
I.
it's a great point because it does truly show that, especially for the writing, they did a good job on bringing up a situation like that. But it also just
Oh, they
shows
did a very good job.
how much could have been changed if the Emperor was a good father. I think if we go into our next Primarch, Perturabo, this is a very similar case. A man who only wanted the best, with the highest of anxiety because the Eye of Terror was staring at him at all times. And it was suited
Yeah.
in the moments and times he would spend time together with the Emperor himself. When he was near the Emperor, he wouldn't feel that gaze upon him. He was calm. If only they had a good conversation about that and the Emperor understood that, they could have figured out a way to maybe even bring Malcador the Sigillite with Perturabo and like just have him be no longer anxious and insane and terrified, and also in this case praise him for his work, because the biggest issue with
Yeah.
Perturabo is he is a very bitter bastard for good reason.
Oh yeah, he is.
If-
He is a spiteful man-child.
Yeah, if you are thrown into every terrible war in the galaxy with no glory for it, no medals for it, and not even a thank you, you over
That's
time
the problem.
become just
Because-
a bitter bastard.
I don't blame him. Like, don't get me wrong, I still don't like Perturabo because he's, like I said, he's a spiteful man-child. But he is someone who does the dirty work.
Yeah,
He does everything that you need to do in war. He's the dude who does the extra paperwork, who makes sure that the filing is right, who sends the emails, who pulls the extra shift. He's that guy who always does it. And no one ever thanked him. I'd be bitter. I mean, shit, I do that as is. It is just in my life. Like, I'm the one who always does that shit, right?
the extra
But I have
work.
people. Yeah, but people thank me for that, man.
Yeah,
They thank me, so it's completely different. Not to mention, but what Big E, I always say this, Big E needed to slap Purdy across the face and say, hey, stop being such a stuck-up prick about everything and just tell us how you feel, and followed by giving the biggest hug ever, saying, we love you, talk to us.
oh, that gave me goosebumps, man. Imagine the Emperor just hugged Perturabo once. It was just like, it'll be okay. If you need me, just send out an Astropath message and I'll be on my way for you. And just that knowledge that if Perturabo really needed his dad, that could have changed so many
That's all.
things. Because that's the only reason he fell to Chaos at all. He fell to
Yeah.
Horus. He didn't even fall to Chaos. He fell to another Primarch. Because this Primarch actually respected him. And it was a brother that actually said, wow, what a good job when he did something.
Yeah. You know what's ironic, though, and what a lot of people don't understand? Perturabo did not like war.
Yeah.
He only fought because the Emperor told him to. He was like, oh, if I do this, my dad will love me.
Woo! Yeah, he hated war. He did not enjoy war at all. He was a tactical genius and amazing at what he did. He was an actual Imperial sledgehammer. But this man
Yeah.
did not enjoy doing that. He wanted to be done with it. He wanted to
I'm
go
like,
do anything
l-
else.
Dude, I love the Iron Warriors. So it's like, I'm someone who's very much like stoicism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for me, the way I was grown, the way I was taught was like, hey, you know, you do what you have to do, you get through the time. Okay, you can't break when there's a problem. You have to finish the problem, you have to finish it, you have to get it done. But then, when you have a moment, then you talk to someone.
Yeah.
Percy did that, but he never got the chance to talk to someone.
He was all alone. Just with his legion.
All alone.
And that made him so bitter, he ended up killing like a tenth of his own legion.
Yeah, legit, when he decimated them.
Yeah.
It's like, you have performed, but not good enough. Which was completely unfucking necessary.
That is unhinged. That's actually unhinged behavior.
Because
the Emperor could have
the-
like been like, hey, don't do that.
Literally. It's like the Iron Warriors, who were known as the Corpse Grinders, by the way, were literally every single major siege that the Crusade had done. The Iron Warriors did it up to that point. And
Yeah.
motherfucker named Purdy be like, oh, you did okay. Motherfucker, they did everything. What do you mean? They were the
What
Siege
else?
Legion.
What else could they have done? All right.
So yeah, Pert Turabo would have really benefited. Like I said before, guys, we're gonna spend most of the time on the Chaos Primarchs because they would have benefited the most.
Yeah,
But
they would have.
now we're going on to Genghis.
Genghis.
AKA Genghis. Dude, fucking The Who. God, such a good band.
Well, we're
I
going...
don't know if you watched that one short from Foxcast to Nowhere. He does not TTS, AI voices of the Primarchs. So he just has the Magnus and Lehman Russ. He just has them like talking of shit.
That's amazing.
And then Jagatai just pulls up and he's on a fucking Harley with the Who Black Thunder playing in the background. And he's just like, I made a bet with a lion that you would fall to Eldar Kuchi, Lamau, and just rides off. The lion is such a fucking, not the lion, the Khan. Dude, most underrated Primarch, the Khan.
By
I'm just
far.
saying it.
He is such
Most
a giga
underrated
chat.
Primarch.
Such a giga chat.
He's so fucking OP. Like, bro is so good.
People don't realize that Jagatai could have probably, even in not just tactical genius. In tactical genius, he would have beaten half the legions by himself. But by
like he's up there with like the lion and shit.
Yeah, he could most likely hold his own against a lion and have a pretty good fight with Sanguinius before Sanguinius gets the upper hand because they can see the goddamn future. But Jagatai is so good.
The Khan could become emperor.
Oh yeah.
He's an amazing general. He's a fucking top 3 best swordsman, period. He has a way with people. He united all the clans. And he knows about politics. He hates politics, but he knows about him.
Yeah.
Yo, the Khan could be emperor.
He could have been. Yeah. Or at least a regent of like a part of the galaxy after the Great Crusade, right? He could have at least like ruled a while because he's good at it. He's a good guy.
He's really good.
He's just also just a super chill dude. I fucking love the Khan. This is
the Khan
now
is
a
so
Khan like fan channel, brother.
Honestly, yo, the Khan is fucking great. My favorite part of the Siege of Terra was when was it Sanguinius and Dawn and Khan were talking. It was like Sanguinius was like, show me your what was it? The Khan said, "Show me your sight, brother," to Sanguinius, or lend me your sight, rather.
Mm-hmm.
And Sanguinius said, "You will slay many, but there is a chance that you may fall." It was like, "Is it certain?" It was like, "Nothing is certain." It was like, "But it is likely," he said. And then the Khan said, "Will I save many?" And it was like, "You will save most of them." And then the Khan said, "Then I ride out."
Oh.
And legit, at the head of his entire legion, mounted on bikes, rode out into the entire traitor force.
I think
the fucking slong on this man.
Oh, this guy. But I also think it's funny because out of all Primarchs, the Emperor did his absolute fucking best. His actual best skill when it came to just human skill and being a good father. He was a good dad to Jagatai. He looked at the man, he's like, "You're smart. You're better at this than me. Keep your legion culture. Put that culture into your legion and make sure you guys
go and do whatever you want.
Do what you need to do." And he's just like, "All right, got you, dad." And he just goes for it. Like, this guy got treated perfectly. Perfectly.
The irony of it is that he got treated perfectly because the Emperor just fucked off and left him alone.
Yeah.
It's the only time the Emperor
He had
was
no
actually
interactions, so it's just like, all right, this is great. I have Space Marines now. Right, so Jagatai, that was a fast one.
Space Marines is so good.
Yeah, Jagatai was a fast one because honestly, he had so little interactions, but it worked out in the right way. So I think he's just a prime example that if the Emperor is a good dad, maybe in most cases he probably shouldn't even have interacted much.
Nah, I'm not gonna give anything to the Emperor. Jagatai was just OP.
Yeah.
Jagatai is just
Jagatai did nobody. Jagatai supremacy, brother.
Damn, Skippy.
All right, Lehman Russ. Wolf himself.
Wolf. The wolfiest wolf. Why is I'm sorry, I have to rant about this. Why is it that GW took the fucking space wolves from Vikings? Right? They were Vikings.
They were
To being
Vikings.
Viking cosplayers. About 12 of their units are the wolf in them. What the fuck?
Half their weaponry, like, it was like, I think it's like 65% of their weaponry either has frost or wolf in the name, which is
Legit.
fucking hilarious. Well,
Why?
I do like how the Emperor went with Leman Russ. Like, he took him on his actual prime values of have an eating contest, have a drinking contest, have your goddamn Asgardian contest, bro. Like, this is like, oh, we'll go to Valhalla. Like, no, we're like, this is just straight up Valhalla shit they did together.
Again, this is one of the things that leads to the credence of the Emperor saw the future and he knew who would be loyal to him. You'll notice the more loyal Primarchs are to the Emperor, the more nicer he is to him. The two main ones being Leman Russ and Vulcan that come to mind.
Yeah.
Because Leman Russ is arguably one of the most... No, he's in the top 3 most loyal Primarchs. I think if we're talking most loyal Primarchs, Russ is up there, Vulcan definitely up there.
Oh, yeah.
And I would say Sanguinius, ferrus as well, and like...
But you're just listing all the Loyalist Primarchs, man. No,
well, I mean...
In the top 3, it's definitely Sanguinius, Leman, and probably Ferrus Manus. I'd say those
really?
3 were...
You think Ferrus over Vulcan?
I think so, even, yeah. Ferrus had, like, a sub-belief in the Emperor, like, to the same level as, like, the Tech Priest belief in the Omnissiah.
Because, like...
He definitely believed in the Emperor. So, yeah, Leman Russ was honestly, just like Jagged Khan, very well treated. And because of that, was hyper, like, loyal. And he genuinely cared about his dad. And him and his dad, even though they, in this case as well, they didn't spend too much time together. They did a competition. Leman, like, lost in the end in a way. Technically, he won and then he lost, blah, blah, blah. And,
the Emperor...
the Emperor did a thing. And then after that, they didn't interact much besides just direct orders, which once again helped Leman Russ stay loyal throughout the whole time.
But like Leman is a dog, and I mean that in a good way.
Yeah,
he's loyal.
Yeah,
like once you've earned his love and trust, he's loyal.
Same thing for Rogel Dorn, really. Rogel Dorn is just a man that went one mission, and that's to serve the Emperor.
In the past, I was me. The lemon is a mighty fruit. No. Fucking love TTS.
TTS is
Rip
great.
TTS. F in chat for TTS.
I suspect he was on narcotics.
I suspect he is on narcotics.
Rogel Dorn, I don't
F in chat for TTS.
I'm gonna be honest here. I don't really know much about Rogel Dorn's like start, like his interactions with the Emperor. I don't imagine they were much different than Perturabo. He was just not being looked at.
It's very similar to Guilliman.
It's very similar to Guilliman, really.
Yeah, because not Purdy. Rogel already had an empire, the Inwit system. Mm-hmm. He already like established an interstellar empire, so he was already established when Big E came knocking. And so, for those of you who don't know, Rogel Dorn and the Imperial Fists are based off U.S. Marines, the military.
Really?
Which is why they have an upset, because you'll notice in a lot of their old art style, they all have buzz cuts. And their obsession with bolters. You know, the U.S. Marines, like, this is my rifle. They may like it, but this one is mine.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact, every single, Imperial Fist Space Marine, on their left butt cheek has a tattoo of an Imperial Fist. That's still canon lore. I'm not kidding.
Really?
Which is something that the Marines do.
That's amazing. I love that. Oh my god. That's great.
Yeah. So, he's very much a military guy. And he's the stereotypical military, like stern, fucking brick, no emotions. Like, this motherfucker is dense.
Yeah, he does not give a shit about your opinions.
Yeah, so when he saw Big E, he immediately submitted him and presented him with the phalanx as a gift. It's like, here, take the phalanx.
Oh yeah, here's my most powerful tool. Probably the most powerful tool known to mankind at this very point. Have it.
Yeah. And again, this leads to the credence that Big E knew who was loyal. So he treated Rogel nice. He was like, no, keep it. And he was very cordial with Rogel. But with Rogel, you didn't have to be. He was loyal to the core. Because he was a brick shithouse. He didn't care about emotions. But he always favored him in... And that's the common critique. He always favored Rogel over Perty when Perty could do the same things as Rogel.
Yeah, that's the
The ultimate one.
It was so unnecessary.
Yeah, it really is. Because why not have them work together?
Exactly.
That's the best fucking way to do it.
They do it faster too.
Exactly. And they're so similar. The biggest slap in the face was building the Imperial Palace.
Yeah.
Because it was already established that Big E would have the Imperial Fist garrison the palace.
Yeah.
But Perty wanted to do one thing and one thing above all else. Do you know what Perturabo's ultimate goal is in life? Well, before he got turned into a dreadnought-sized evil thing. Like, this is canon. Do you know what it was?
What?
His canon dream goal was to build the perfect city.
Aw.
The perfect palace, if you will.
He was just a little architect. He's just a Warhammer builder for real, because he liked his miniatures. We know about that.
Literally.
So, he just wanted to build, like, what he makes in miniatures, he wanted to build it in real life.
Yeah. He wanted to build a city, a perfect city that was practical, yet aesthetically pleasing, that had a good... He just wanted to build and craft. He wanted to craft his own city. And when he had the chance to craft not only a city, but the capital of Terra, hey, let's give it to Dawn, who doesn't care about aesthetics, only cares about building a wall.
Yup. Big wall goes good, but big gate, good.
It's so funny because Perty could make it just as good as Rogel. Obviously, Rogel would be a little better because he'd focus on, defensive aspects, and in terms of defense, the Imperial Fists are better than the Iron Warriors, but you're talking like a 5% difference. You could have fucking given it to Perty.
Exactly. Like, Rogel in itself would also not have characters. They could have worked together on it, make it both functional and pretty. And
with their personalities,
yeah.
Rogel wouldn't have given... Not Rogel wouldn't have given a shit.
Exactly. Rogel's like, oh, alright, I'll go cleanse this part of the galaxy. Have fun.
It's ironic because you could swap Rogel, Dawn, and Perturabo.
Yeah.
Like, you could swap their positions, and they would have been better.
They would have been. All right, next up, we go back to another traitor Primarch. Conrad Kurz.
If Batman was evil.
If Batman was evil. Lord, I'm gonna be honest with you here. I'm gonna try the real one here, champ. Like, I like Conrad, I like the Night Lords. I'm quite the Night Lords enjoyer. 5th edition Night Lord player here. Yes, I was that guy.
Oh, you scum.
I was
Salamanders fucking beat your ass with the giant flaming hammer.
Yes, over and over. Also, the local Tyrannus player just would not let me win. But as a Night Lords player myself, I have to say, I don't think they're saving Conrad Kurz. Even if the Emperor was a good dad. Conrad...
But here's the thing, though.
Was just fucking cursed by himself.
But, that's true. But I would actually argue that there is.
Oh.
Because 2 reasons. One, Biggie literally, like you, he wrote Conrad off. Yes. He didn't care about him. Like, anything he did.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, he's murdering civilians? Okay, whatever. Let him do whatever.
Have fun.
Legit. So he didn't try to medically help him in any way or psychically help him, which Biggie could do.
He could have. He could have at least, because if the Emperor and the Horus Heresy didn't happen, he wouldn't have had those visions. But yeah, this is then the thing is, can the Emperor psychically cleanse a Primarch? We know we can memory wipe them, but can we psychically cleanse them?
No, he may not be able to psychically cleanse, but he could help him. And that leads to my main point. The main crux is why Conrad eventually fell.
Mm-hmm.
He was a nihilist.
Yeah. Just a sad
He
boy.
always believed in the end. And that's the funny thing. It's like, he was like, I had to do so much evil. He lied to himself and justified with, I will die like this. This is going to happen is all bad. That's why I was the bad guy. I didn't choose this. It's not my choice. I was made like this.
Yeah.
He lied to himself
Yeah.
to
'Cause-
try and emotionally cope with the fact that he used to kill people with his bare hands.
But if the Emperor had, I guess now that I look at it in that perspective, I guess in the way that if the Emperor could have helped his nihilist issue, if the Emperor just talked to him like, hey, within life, first off, we make mistakes, so I forgive you for that. But also, within the position you were born in, and within the city, the thing that you have had to do, you had to do this.
Yeah.
You had
Conrad-
to commit evil. To fight
You
evil.
needed to do it.
Yeah.
And the thing that, and what's ironic is that Conrad never got help from anyone, but he cried out for help. The biggest thing is when he attacked Rogel Dawn. When Sanguinius found him, he was in tears on the floor
Oh.
over what he had done. He was remorseful. He wanted to help.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, that he wanted it. It wasn't like Perturabo where he didn't ask for it or anything. He legitimately wanted help.
Yeah. Nobody
And
would
this-
lend it to him.
Exactly. This brings back to an interesting point that someone made. I don't exactly remember who, but it was like, we often think of the Primarchs as these god-level beings, but in reality, they were just children
Yeah. They were just kids.
who, they didn't have home lives. And we look at the people who did have home lives, like three big examples actually. Sanguinius, Guilliman, and Vulcan. They both had dads, they both had moms, they both had loving, caring communities, and look how they turned out.
They turned out fucking great.
Yeah. Yet, Big E needed to be a dad to these first before he made them generals.
Yeah.
But these were just people who didn't have time to focus on, because think about it, they didn't have alone time. They didn't have time just to focus on their own shit.
Yeah, no, they
They
were
were
meant to
wo-
go fight, kill, murder, rage, destroy, go into the galaxy and murder things, and if you stop for a day, I'll come slap you myself.
Legit.
Like,
I mean, shit, that's what happened to Lorgar.
honestly, yeah. Well, when you take 2 years to like process a planet, there should be questions asked. But
but so for some people, something that people don't know about that, Lorgar had 100% conformity rate.
Yeah.
That meant that every planet that Lorgar conquered, it never ever rebelled. Even there weren't even protests.
yeah,
It was completely set up, efficient,
true.
and quality.
Right. So in Conrad's case, his nihilist structure may have been helped with just interacting with the Emperor and understanding the
Oh, it
evil he
would
had
have.
done.
He needed a hug.
He just
I
needed a
always
good
say-
old hug.
Conrad needed a hug and therapy, like a lot of therapy, enough therapy to kill somebody.
Yeah, and a little bit more for
needed
him.
that.
But then he'd be alright.
Yeah, he would actually be like, he'd have his problems, but he'd be functional, not a psychotic murderer.
I mean, he could have just helped out, be a part of the Inquisition, or, well, we probably wouldn't have the Inquisition, but a part of, like, the Knights Errant in a way, where they do deal with fucked up shit. Because he's still
He
a
could
very
have
useful...
joined Malkador.
Yeah, he's a very useful tool, still. Even
Yeah.
if he was no longer a nihilist, he would be still a very good tool, because he's just incredible at what he does.
Alrighty.
Sanguinius.
Yeah, nothing. He's perfect.
Sanguinius is perfect. Dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a dad, he had a mom, the Emperor treated him right, and he fought for 3 days straight at the Siege of Terra, and then fought
Oh,
Horus,
guys.
and he just
Because
kept going.
I personally think that Sanguinius would kill Horus on a 1v1, but you all need to understand, my boy killed a greater prince, demon,
Yes.
of Khorne, Kabanda. He killed him. He fought for 3, and this was before, mind you, he fought hordes of demons for 3 days straight. He was the only one defending the Eternity Gate against hordes of bloodletters. He
Yeah.
killed a fucking warlord titan.
I was about to say, he killed Kabanda, then then almost destroyed Angron and then killed a warlord titan by himself.
And that was after fighting off hordes of demons and possessed for 3 days alone
Sanguinius
against
is
tens
just
of thousands.
built different.
Sanguinius is someone that people don't understand. There's an old saying: beware the sea in the midst of a storm, beware the night without a moon, and beware the wrath of a patient man. 40k does this. They draw parallels a lot. You have a parallel between Perturabo, Rogal Dawn, between Angron and Sanguinius. Now, why do I say Angron and Sanguinius? Because both of them are bloodthirsty butchers.
Yeah, they're red angels.
The problem is, they're red angels. The difference being, is that Sanguinius is also human. He had love. He's whole. Because what people don't know is that the Blood Angels before Sanguinius were known as the Revenant Legion. They were berserkers who ate people alive.
Throw them a thing, it dies.
So Sanguinius is someone, and it said there, the angel's love was said to be the greatest of the world. Though it was rare, when his ire was roused, nothing could sate his wicked bloodlust.
Jeez.
That's a quote.
That's amazing.
Sanguinius is an angel in every aspect. Whenever you see an angel in the Bible acting just and good, heaven. For y'all who ever read the Bible, read a part where an angel had to fuck shit up.
Yeah, and I think it's just the one thing that Sanguinius could have had help with, though, is the Emperor. I don't know how well the Emperor was, knew about how bad the Red Terrors was. I imagine he knew pretty well. He could have just talked to Sanguinius about the Red Terrors, and over time, together with Sanguinius, just have tried to fix it.
He probably could have fixed it himself.
Yeah. This takes him like a year of work, and then he can fix it.
God, I hate the Emperor.
All right, Sanguinius, that was a super quick one, because honestly, Sanguinius went rather well. We didn't get to see the full story.
He's perfect.
He's perfect now. Ferrus Manus.
He's perfect. Iron hands.
Iron
hands.
Iron hands.
Dude, a fucking Ferrus Manus got shafted by GW.
Yeah, he really did.
Guess where most of his lore comes from?
Greek mythology?
No.
Oh.
Short stories. His official lore comes from short stories.
Oh.
Unpublished short stories. Motherfucker doesn't even have a book.
Bro, they gave a book named Fulgrim to an asshole, but then they gave no book to one of just by far the coolest and in-depth Primarchs.
He's so dope, dude. Because he is the definition of Chad. He is like, I'm going to solve this by punching it with my fists. It's like, you can't do that. No, I will just make my fist better to punch it instead. Like, his battle with the worm was so fucking dope. Like, he's like,
I am a child, and I'm gonna kill a Necron engine myself.
With his fists!
With his bare fucking hands, he dipped him in lava. He fucking dipped him in lava.
Ferrus is the ultimate gym bro. He's the ultimate gym bro. But he's the good gym bro. He's fucking 17 pounds of muscle in his brain alone. He
Just
is
his
the good gym bro.
Yeah.
Also, now, after watching Vodcast to Nowhere's thing for the Primarchs, my headcanon voice for him is Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
I can't.
That about fits in my brain as well. That about works. Sylvester Stallone, Ferrus Manus would work. Honestly, I think Ferrus Manus, he kind of also got slightly shafted by the Emperor because he had a lot of pent-up rage and was very easily aggravated. He wasn't very controlling of himself. He was very calculated in many things, but he was also just a little angry goober at times for no fucking reason. Like, to the point that he would condemn his whole legion to one push because he's that mad. The Emperor could have just helped with that specific thing. Like, hey, why do you have to be mad? It's just a game.
Oh wait, you have to do the thing.
Why you have to be mad? It's just a game.
Perfect. Legit. what caused Ferrus's death, aside from bad writing, was him charging ferociously to face Fulgrim because of that blind rage. What Big E could have done was just been like, hey, count to 10, calm the hell down. Because anyone who's ever had anger issues as a kid growing up will tell you, having someone just to sit you the fuck down and be like, chill, is literally all that you need.
Yeah.
Like having a father figure to literally slap you in the face and be like, yo, calm down. That, it gets into you.
And that also just shows how much the Primarchs were children. They just needed
100%.
a little fathering, just a little bit of family time, just to fix out the last little issues before they went and picked up a really big gun to go kill things.
Like, as I said, Guilliman, Sanguinius, Vulcan, all had that, all turned out great, and arguably they were the best dads to their children.
Yeah.
But again, Big E didn't care because Ferrus was loyal. He was loyal.
He was loyal to the bone. So it's like, I don't give a shit about it. He can go do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
he'll be fine.
I hate the Emperor. But now, for the real reason, actually the main reason why I hate the Emperor.
Oh boy, here it goes. It goes about my profile image. Angron. Oh,
To all the Magnus stands who are waiting for me to say Magnus did nothing wrong, no, Magnus did plenty things wrong. Angron did nothing wrong.
Angron did nothing wrong. Just by standard, no matter how you look at it, Angron in no way or form did anything wrong. He was an empath, yeeted into the gladiator pits of a shitty ass world to go fight other creatures by having his brain fucking implanted with electric nails connecting to his neurons. And if he takes them out, he fucking explodes. Like, holy shit, this is a kid! This is a baby! He was like 6 years old as he was put in. And at this point, like, he got out of the fucking, like, cubicle, the drop pod. He got out of it. A Dark Elder race, like, went onto him, and he killed like 100 of them before they finally subdued him and took him with him. Like, this kid, the first thing he knew, the very first conscious thing he knew, was getting attacked by aliens.
Yep. And then after he managed to beat off the aliens, oh, guess what? Slavers.
Yeah. And then he was sold to the goddamn slavers, right? And then, after 20 years of suffering and ending up having to kill his own adoptive father in these gladiator rings, he finally snapped, as any man would have at this point. And he took his slaves, freed himself, raided the world, eater of cities. He ate every city they came across.
Good name, by the way.
Burned them all.
Such a good name.
Burned them all to the ground. And then finally, he had his freedom. They went into the mountains, but they were being chased by both the aliens and the slave traders. They fought, and for over a year, they fucking survived. And then?
Like Spartacus.
In the last moment, probably the last 200-300 gladiators, together with him on the last hilltop, fighting off huge armies surrounding them. A big ship appears, and instead of the Emperor coming down to go help him and fight this glorious moment together, no, he only takes Angron and lets him just sit and cook inside a dark corner in a dark room by himself. He was just fighting together with his brothers and sisters a moment ago. Now he is somewhere else.
No, I can't do this. I don't understand. No, there is no logical... No, there is no logical reason
to do that.
Why Big E didn't.
Right?
And this goes to the fact of Big E knew that Angron would betray him, so he treated him like shit. He did the same thing with Vulcan and with Ferrus. Not Ferrus, Lehman.
Yeah, he spent time. 30 minutes.
Their trust. Legit. He earned their trust. He came in there with the fucking Custodes and the World Eaters. Yep. Literally, hey, World Eaters, your dad's gonna die. Go kill everyone. The fucking melee Berserker Legion. And you're like, hey, go and kill all these weak-minded fools who outnumber your dad.
That would have been such an easy fix. In just that, Like, yeah, Angron may have been a bit miffed that he himself didn't win. Sure, they could have talked that out. But just teleporting him away, knowing his brothers and sisters are now doomed to die without their great leader, feeling like he left them in the last moment. That's awful.
What happened? When he came back to Nasuria, but Nasuria, by the way, was actually ended up being under control by Bobby G. It was written there in a giant plaque that the fucking leaders of the city-states had set up, saying that on the eve of battle, he deserted them and ran away and is known as a coward.
Yeah.
And he saw that!
You saw that, man. What did Angron ever do, man? What did he ever do?
My boy, legit.
Like, it's the saddest thing, right?
Nothing.
Like, this guy, his Primarch's purpose. So, for those that don't know, all the Primarchs had a specific purpose, or had at least a specific part in their soul.
Power.
And yeah, in this case, Angron's special power was being an empath. Helping people around him feel better, feel safe. Even the barbarians that he was sleeping in the fucking sheds, waiting for their next gladiator fight, they could sleep next to him. And he had a dog. I just saw the chat. He had a dog.
Yeah, he had a dog.
He did have a dog. Everybody around him loved him. And because of how the Emperor treated him, he could no longer even love himself or anyone around him. And it just, his whole empath power, his Primarch power, the reason why Primarchs are special, just dropped off. His World Eaters did not feel a Primarch connection with him. They were so sad compared to all the other legions being so happy about finding their Primarch. They got their father, and what they got was a broken angel. A man only here to kill. He killed 7 captains before the 8th captain, because haha, funny number. Until the 8th captain, Karn, walked in. They talked it out. And then he finally realized, like, hey, maybe I can at least give it some kind of a shot. But then just being dealt that way, I'm sure, even in the beginning, it probably wasn't that bad until about probably like 50 to 100 years into the Great Crusade. And the Emperor hadn't even tried to fix anything with him. He hadn't even spoken to the Emperor since then.
And the thing that annoys me is that, so what's theorized Angron's power would be is that he was said to be an empath, right?
Yeah.
The idea is that he had a very close connection with psychic stuff.
Yeah.
Which is why he was so receptible to the neural implant. That's theorized, by the way, that the reason why his neural implants went so wrong with the butcher's nails, that and him being a Primarch.
Yeah.
But it's theorized that what he could do, his power, was literally to yell, to literally a paladin AoE yell. He would yell and call out to his warriors, and they would automatically be reinvigorated and be healed. And he instead would take that feeling and process it, and they would recover and gain a morale boost.
He would literally just octane stim himself. If you've ever played Apex, he's just octane stimming his whole team at the same time.
Yeah, and they'd all jump up and they'd be encouraged. So Angron, like, fuck me, 40k is grimdark, because
really
this is the greatest example.
He would have been the nicest Primarch out of them all. Like, even if, let's say they wouldn't have figured out the butcher's nails, right? They could have at least gone, and like the Emperor could have had him near him more, and maybe through psychic treatment may have fixed it still. We know Primarchs can regrow parts, even their brain. Maybe the Emperor did figure out a way to maybe semi-kill him and then bring him back. Because we knew the Emperor could have even reforged ferrus Magnus after his death. And he was beheaded by a demon blade. Like, Malcador talks about this.
One of those.
Yeah, he talks about the fact that if they had had enough time, they could have reforged ferrus Magnus. They could have brought him back. The same thing they could have done with Angron and actually have the Angron, which, well, like his true purpose. We could have had that. And I think Angron, for himself, his soul would have been a lot better off than what it is now. Because, unlike Fulgrim's soul, Angron's soul is still there. He's just suffering.
Wait, isn't Fulgrim's soul, like, didn't it get exploded?
Well, Fulgrim's soul was out there, yeah, but Angron's soul is still there, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no,
Angron's soul is still there. Yeah.
Angron is depressed.
Yeah, he's sad.
Like, after doing the work, he's depressed. Like, reading the research for the new book that came out, is like, Angron said, he only ever felt one moment of peace in his life, and that's when he dies.
So sad.
And he gets resurrected every 8 days,
Oh.
8 hours, 8 minutes, and 8 seconds, because funny number.
Haha, funny number 8. Angron, my poor boy. That is generally the Primarch I feel the worst about, because he is the...
Oh, yeah,
he
100%.
just does not deserve anything.
100%.
Yeah, yeah, I just see the chat. Like, the last thing they could have done is at least then teleport the whole, like, barbarian army up there as well. Like, all the gladiators. And just turn them into fucking semi-space marines. We've done it before. We'll do it again.
They did it with Luther and
Yeah.
the fucking Knights of Caliban.
It worked. You can do it again.
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
All right. That was our special boy Angron. Now let's go to one of my semi-favorites, Bobby G.
Yeah.
Bobby
Pause. Nah, hold on. Wait, time out.
Oh, no.
Time out. This is an ultramarine. We love Rome here. What do you mean semi-favorite? What's wrong? Well, you would live in Ultramar. You know you would.
He is not in one of my top 3. He's semi-favorite.
Okay, that's fine. That's
He is
acceptable.
not, like, because, like, he is in the top, like, 6. But he's at number 6.
That's acceptable.
Like, he's at
I
number
can
6 for me.
accept
But,
that.
like, he's, like, I don't hate him. I don't dislike him. His memes are quite funny, and I can't, like... The only reason I quite dislike him is for the fact that whenever I write about him and I do a video on him, I will fuck up Robert Guilliman, like, 27 times before I get it right in my script. So it just pisses me off every time I have to write about this man.
Fair. That's fair. I can appreciate that.
But Bobby G is quite a good lad, and as we talked about before, like, he got the same treatment as Sanguinius, where he had a dad, he had a mother, he had a family,
I'll
and
show you Rita.
he was given power at a young age already.
Yeah, honestly, Gilgalad had the best upbringing.
Oh yeah.
And to sum up his relationship with the Emperor, allow me to quote a book from the one, I think it's Dark Imperium, when they played Wars. Do not call him that. He was not my father. Conor Guilliman was my father. He is not a god. He is not my father. He was my creator, and nothing more. So that's Guilliman's thoughts on Big E.
That's quite funny that one of the most loyal Primarchs still looks at him in that regard. But I guess it's also a good case. It was reality. There was no personal lying. He wasn't lying to himself about anything. This is reality. It's not his real dad. It's his creator, but it's not his father.
I mean, Space Caesar was Guilliman's dad. And for those who know, I call him Space Caesar because he was literally a consul of Rome who got murdered by political rivals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Space Caesar.
Space Caesar.
And then Guilliman is Space Augustus.
And, like, if he just... I guess the only thing I would have changed for Big G is that for Bobby G, throughout the 30k setting, he honestly has a good connection to his father. It goes quite well. Yeah. They have good conversations. Now, in the 40k setting, though, because this is one of the rare cases we actually get to see an interaction between a Primarch and the Emperor in the 40k setting.
Guilliman kind of doesn't... Guilliman does not like Big E.
Yeah, he is not having a good time about this, because he...
No.
Wasn't it that
he has ultra depression.
Yeah, wasn't it that he looked at his father, and they spoke, and he's like, I don't even have a father anymore. It's now just as if I'm talking to a son. Like, talking to a planet. Because
Big E's mind is fractured.
Yeah.
So, legit, the way that it goes, like, you know, Primarch, my creation, my life, my Imperium, ruined, tool, crafted, created. And it goes Rebute, Guilliman, Sun, Avenging, Primarch. It's one of those things where you're just getting thoughts.
Yeah, just random collections of information that make no sense if you put them in a sentence, but you just have to think about the full context of what he's trying to say.
Not to mention, Guilliman has ultra depression, literally, because funny enough, hey, you know the brother who, like, burnt down half of your empire and, like, you know, nearly killed, like, I don't know if it was him who killed his mom, but was it Conrad? One of the Primarchs killed his mom.
I think it was Conrad.
But I think it was Conrad. But you know that we have his Bible, You know, the one that he wrote for your dad that caused him to burn down his Jerusalem? Yeah, we use that now. We quote it in battle.
Yeah. Like, oh lord. Because like he came back and he's just looking around. He's like, this could not have been worse.
Yeah, it's like
Holy
it's like
shit!
Logo
Horus,
one.
like Horus was right.
Horus was right.
Holy fuck, Horus was
Horus
right.
was-
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
Pain.
Pain. So yeah,
Pain.
Bobby G quite a fast one as well, but
Yeah, in 40k he has depression. He's like, I don't want to be here.
I don't
The
wanna
only
be-
thing keeping Guilliman alive is his sense of duty.
really is, yeah. Like his pride and his sense of duty and just wanting to still have the better for humanity as a whole.
Yeah.
So Mortarion, though, on the other hand, now that's a story and a half, which in a lot
Okay,
of ways,
fuck Morty.
like Mortarion is. I know why you don't
Mortarion
like
was
him.
just being
He's
a
a
petty bitch.
bitter, arrogant guy. He wanted to go
No,
kill
he's
his.
just so petty.
Yeah, he is. He is a real buddy motherfucker.
Petty.
So the thing about Mortarion is, right, like he grew up on a very chemical planet.
Barbaros.
Barbaros, that's it. On a very chemical planet. Everybody lived in like very small little villages. And it was like semi-Stone Age, but also hyper advanced at the same time. Definitely a like dark age of technology world where the leaders lived in the mountains, which were these Xenos overlords. We don't really know what kind of race they were. They were kind of weird.
It's speculated that they were actually hybrids. You know, like
Yeah.
some shenanigans, because they had a lot of. It's never really made clear what
Yeah.
exactly they are,
They were psychers,
except that
and
they're
hyper
psychers
technological. Like they had super
and
technology.
immune to poison.
Yeah,
That's about it.
yeah. And over time, Perturabo turned on his father, his Xenos overlord, tried to kill him.
Oh, Mortarion.
Mortarion, sorry. Walked up the mountain to try and kill
While
his.
you explain to everyone, I have to take a leak. I'll be back in a second.
All good. All right, so Mortarion landed on Barbaros, and he first was with his father, which was a Xenos overlord, which turned him into a murderous killing machines. Then he found himself underneath people, and he was like, hey, wait a moment, I might be semi-human as well. I don't really look like my father, but I look a lot more like these people. Then he started a rebellion. And during this rebellion, they had to go up the mountains to go face the Xenos. The issue is this planet was so chemical, so much just chems in the air that if you walked up there, your skin would literally start to burn. Mortarion tried very hard and got almost to the top. And right as he reached the top to go fight his dad, he collapsed. Then the Xenos walks out close to him and heaves up his sight, ready to kill Mortarion. And then the Emperor, out of nowhere, flashes into existence and strikes the terrible Xenos down, taking away Mortarion's chance at killing his own father and taking revenge for the terrible life he had lived that far. And this is honestly the same thing that would happen with Angron, right? Both Angron and Mortarion were just trying to have their last glory, and were okay with either death or life afterwards. But the Emperor just took it away in the last moment for really no fucking reason. If the Emperor was a good dad in this case.
Okay, I have bone to pick with that. He had a reason for Mortarion.
Oh, he had a reason for Mortarion?
Yeah, he had a reason.
Oh god. Mortarion
Yeah,
slander,
'cause-
here we go.
No, he did, because what happened is, you got it right up to one point, because Morty met with Biggie beforehand, and Biggie was like, "Hey, you did a really good job. I'm really happy here. Let me help you go take care of him." And Morty was like, "No,
Oh.
fuck you. I can do it on my own. I got big balls too, motherfucker." And then Biggie was like, "Okay, I'll make a deal. If you do indeed, in fact, kill him, I'll fuck off and I'll leave your planet alone. If not, though, you have to serve me."
Oh. That makes it worse.
And then he was like, "I bet, okay, I can do it." And the Biggie was like, "Are you sure you can? Do you want like help?" It's like, "No, fuck you, I got it." So then Morty goes up there, and then he's literally about to die. Like there would be no second chance. You have failed.
Yeah.
You are on the floor dying. This motherfucker is literally going to kill you. And then Biggie came in and saved him. If Biggie didn't do that, Mortarion would be dead. So he has no right to complain. because you failed, motherfucker. Take your
fair.
L.
That is fair.
Angron didn't have that chance. Because what would happen with Angron is that he would have actually died. And at least then, he would be remembered well. Morty lost. Morty's just bitter because he couldn't take the L.
Yeah, he's just a bad loser in that case.
I fucking hate Mortarion because he has no reason to be mad. He tried, but he failed. Like, get over it. It's not his fault. Would you rather have him let you die?
But
Then you're being a bitch, because then you're denying your legion, your fatherhood.
this is true. Honestly, like, even though a good conversation after that would have helped, but probably on Mortarion's side, probably just didn't want to talk to the Emperor after that. But
Oh, he completely cut ties with Biggie. He was like, nah, this dude, especially when he learned he was a psyker.
yeah, because the Xenons were also Psychers, which means he fucking hated everything Psyker related.
The rare case where Biggie actually didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, no, and this, I didn't actually know about that first part. That just makes Mortarion just seem like a little bit of a crybaby, which once again shows they're just kids.
Yeah, 100%.
They're just kids. So,
Also,
next up.
I like hate Mortarion because like he ruined the old 14th Legion were known as the Dusk Raiders.
The Dusk Raiders were so cool.
Yeah, because they would always assault at dusk, and it was a common tactic that they would give you an ultimatum in the morning, and if you didn't do it by dusk, well then you'd get raided. And they were very honorable and noble, and they made use of combined arms, especially mechanized warfare.
Yeah.
But the Mortarion was just like, no.
World War
No.
One tactics, here we go.
Yeah, and he legit focused on the infantry. And for those of you who wonder why the Death Guard don't have any tanks, like all of their heavy vehicles are Plague Burst Crawlers, Bloat Drones, and what's the name of the Plague Burst Crawlers with on the ground? With the teeth?
Oh, a Plague Crawler? Something like that?
No, the Plague Burst Crawler, it's like a fetid Blight Drone, I think? or
Something like that. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. The little spindly boy.
Yeah. They're all sentient creatures. They're
Yeah.
not man.
Yeah.
The reason why is because the majority, actually all of the heavy support, like the heavy armor, the aircraft, everything that wasn't main frontline line infantry, were all Terran veterans of the Dusk Raiders, who refused to join Mortarion in his coup, and thus were ultimately killed during the massacre on Istavan III. The massacre on Istavan III being where all the loyalist elements of the traitor legions were purged, the Istavan V dropsite massacre being Teutoburg 40k.
Yeah. God. But back to
Mortarion's a bitch.
Mortarion is a bitch, but now Magnus, because Magnus did something wrong.
Yeah,
Magnus did a goof. He don't goof.
He did big goof.
He didn't goof. He don't fucked up.
He did big fuck up.
Magnus deserves every
what's
single
that?
thing that happened to him.
That's a cool wall? Huh? What would happen if I broke it? Oops, I broke it. Oops, there's demons coming in.
Whoopsie
Huh.
daisy.
It's like Emperor. I love that meme where it's just like kicks the door. It's like, Emperor, watch out. Emperor's like, what? The door hits him in the face.
It's like where you see your son tapping on the glass while you're in the wet way. You're like, wait.
it's like, oh no.
No, Magnus did something wrong. There is no respite about that. Like, yes, he could have been more well educated by the Emperor. Why can't he use psychic powers? Well, because of the warp. If the Emperor would have explained a little bit more about that, Magnus would have made less mistakes. But Magnus was also
100%.
an arrogant bastard. He believed himself to be smarter
arrogant.
and better than anyone around him. And when shit went bad, when he done goof, he put himself in this tower and just started crying. While his legion and planets around him died. Because he cut off everything from his planet. So they didn't even know they were getting invaded.
Yeah, he self-sabotaged.
Yeah.
He was the imposter.
He was the imposter. Yeah, no, like, Magnus deserves everything he got in the end. Because he did this to himself. He chose death.
Like, some of it is tragic. I will give you that, because the only reason why he got sucked into chaos was because he wanted to cure the flesh change, which he personally felt responsible for.
Yeah.
And his inability, because Magnus is insecure.
Oh yeah.
That's something we need. He is very insecure. And so when he had Zinj coming in, feeding his ego, which is the exact opposite you want to do within someone who's insecure. Because with Magnus, it's like, I need to hide my insecurities. For anyone listening, if you want to get rid of insecurities, do not hide them. Embrace them. Acknowledge that they exist and work a way around them. Actively find a issue and find a solution that fixes said issue.
I'm scared of my Dutch accent, so I became a YouTuber.
Yeah. No, bang on.
It's that simple.
I mean, shit. When we first started talking, I complimented you plenty on how you spoke English. That must have been a big fucking glow up, huh?
Yeah, I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah, and that wouldn't have happened and just you started this shit.
Exactly. And it is with Magnus, if he, this is again, in conversation with his father,
if the Emperor just gave him a hug and sat him down.
It's like, hey, it's okay. You can be big and red. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. We don't laugh at you for that.
Also, I refuse to believe that Magnus is canonically bigger than Vulcan. That's bullshit. That is fake news.
No, yeah, he was
Vulcan
smaller than Vulcan, but he's a psyker, so he can make himself look and be bigger.
Yeah, heretical magics.
Magic man! Sorcerer! No, but Magnus...
Fucking Lehman Russ, whenever he hears sorcery, just like, Ree!
Magnus just needed a hug early on, and everything would have been fine.
Yeah.
He also just needed a good slap on the fingers.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, Lehman Russ never intended to destroy this guy and destroy Magnus. He intended originally to just go capture him, but then Horus was like, no, make it kill. And then he was
and
like, okay.
then the dumb motherfucker couldn't pick up a phone and phone Big E. Motherfucker had the Sisters of Silence and the Custodies with him.
Yep. He's like, oh yeah, this is fine. This seems right. Let me just go kill another brother. Smile.
I love the Space Wolves, but God, I hate Lehman sometimes.
Lehman, he
he's
is just
so
too
dense.
trusting. Yeah, he's just like, go left, and he will just instantly turn left, just into the river. Like, he doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't think. He's like, no
thoughts.
Think, only brain. It's like only muscle.
No think, only scream.
Legit. God almighty.
Horus Lupercal.
Ooh.
The big man himself.
This is the biggest one.
This is the most important one.
And honestly, we don't really have to talk much about this. Big E, if Big E told Horus about chaos, then Horus wouldn't have gone in with chaos.
Yeah.
And he would have stayed away from it, and he wouldn't have gotten trapped.
He would have probably died. But that's alright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, he would have been cautious. Yeah. The only reason why Horus fell to chaos was because he didn't know what chaos was.
Yeah.
Like, he had his own issues with, kind of being a little insecure and, craving, the acclamations. But he was well-rounded enough that he was able to fix his own problems. Because unlike a lot of the other Primarchs, he knew what was wrong. So he was able to keep it together.
Yeah, he was very self-aware, and he was very good at conversation. Yeah. He was also great with the other Primarchs, and that's probably why the Emperor chose him.
He was the guy.
He was such a social good dude.
Yeah,
and he even helped other Primarchs with their mental issues. And he was helping himself too. He was a really good guy.
Yeah. He really was. It's also ironic how he's technically a mob boss, because Chthonia, the world he comes from, is a gang world.
Oh, that's hilarious. He's like mafia family.
Yeah, that's fucking
amazing.
Quality. So it's like, hey, you gonna come here about spaghetti? Huh? We're gonna sit you down, have a good meal. I sorted. Capiche?
Capiche? That's just a beautiful thing about Horus. Like, Horus is such a just magnificent bastard. And
yeah, he was the guy.
This is just one of those cases. How could it have all been solved if he just knew about the dangers of chaos? One conversation. Literally. He got the hugs he required. Like, that's why he's probably such a good guy. He got the hugs. But all the other Primarch issues could have been fixed with just a hug. But in Horus's case, he just needed one extra little bit of context.
And the thing is, though, this isn't Big E being a good dad. Because Big E was a good dad to Horus. This is Big E not being a dumb shit.
Yeah, this is Big E just not being an asshole for no reason.
Legit. Like, tell him.
Tell him.
It's literally, you walk into a room and there's a snake there. You tell the motherfucker, hey, there might be a snake in there.
Yeah, be careful. Maybe put on some armor and try to get it out.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. And the snake happens to have tits, but don't worry about it.
This is a really weird snake, I promise. It's Xenos. Yeah, I think Horus, yeah. Horus did not really do much wrong, because at the end, during the end of the Horus heresy, when he was about to get Kamehameha'd out of existence, the Emperor saw...
He asked
Horus
the Emperor to do it.
Yeah, because he was just like... The gods left him. He was once again himself, and he had realized every mistake he had made.
Yeah.
And he's like, just end it. Just destroy me.
He's like, kill me. They're going to possess me again. Just kill me, end me. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, which is so sad, because in the end, like, honestly, at the very last moment, he was a good guy.
He always was a good guy.
Yeah.
Horus was never a bad guy.
Horus, the good guy.
Yeah,
what could have been?
Funny how the fucking Big E ended up killing both the good guys. We have Sanguinius and Horus. It's just like, oh yeah, they both died.
Oh man. The two nice people, god damn it. At least Vulcan still semi-lives.
Vulcan lives!
Vulcan lives! I believe!
I believe.
Before we get to Vulcan, though.
GW, please bring Vulcan back.
Yeah.
The next Loyalist Prime, give him back. Because it would fit the trifecta. Because the original trifecta of Imperium Secundus was you have the politician, the general, and the spokesperson, the face.
Yeah.
Vulcan can do that. Vulcan, good guy. Dragon Dad, best dad. Oh, nice dad. Me love Dragon Dad.
He's great. But before we get to Vulcan, though, we need to talk about Lorgar.
Ah, yes.
Lorgar
the reason why atheists exists.
Lorgar got done dirty.
Oh yeah, he did.
Lorgar really got done dirty. Instead of the Emperor...
He is the prime example of misplaced faith.
Literally. Like, if the Emperor did not absolutely, completely destroy the city of Kur, the perfect city, he could have just talked with him about it.
Wait, wasn't it called Monarchia?
I think it was first Kur and then Monarchia.
Or is that just like its spiritual name? Because like a lot of times you have that.
That might be it. I know it was originally called Kur, but they may have rebuilt it into Monarchia.
It's probably one of those things where its, spiritual name is Kur, but then its physical name is
Monarchia.
So with Lorgar, again, I have a very strong connection because I am Christian. So then something that is actually taught was that, hey, be careful about misplaced faith because, for those of you who don't know, throughout history, people have used faith to do misleadings.
Bad things, even.
The 30 Years' War.
What haven't we done for religion?
That's bloody well true. So, Lorgar is a prime example of being so desperate to have his faith. Actually, ironically, Lorgar is the exact opposite of what a man of faith should be.
Yeah.
A man of faith is someone who acts on faith. The difference between hope and faith is that hope is belief in something that can happen. Faith is belief in something that shouldn't happen. Yet, Lorgar wanted his faith verified. But if your faith gets verified, it's not faith anymore.
No, it's just reality.
Exactly.
You have no longer anything to believe in besides reality.
Lo and behold! Welcome to the grim dankness of 40k, people, where everything is fucked. Because in this case, the religious nutjob decided to worship a fucking atheist.
Yeah, like, what is a bad daddy, recipe? Let's worship an atheist.
Not even, because people say he's not an atheist, he's an anti-theist, which is worse.
Yeah,
he believes in gods, he just hates them.
Yeah, he hates everything religious related, which is the worst thing to then start believing in, because that's exactly against his purpose in life, directly.
Dude, can we talk about Monarchia? Because people don't understand just how fucking brutal Monarchia was.
Take it away. Tell us the story of Monarchia. So,
basically, Guilliman, Big G, was then hired by Big E to accompany him to go and talk to Lorgar. Because that's what he said. We're going to censure him, right? We're going to talk to him. And then it's just one of those things where they get there, and Big E's like, okay, now burn the city. Now now Big G was like, okay, no, fine, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And the reason why Big G said we'll do it because he gave an evacuation order to the city.
Yeah.
And he had most of the garrisons and the civilian population exited before that.
Yeah.
Because he knew Big E would have just fired on the civvies immediately.
It's just so sad.
It really is, man. So then the city is lying in ruin. And then Big E waits for the entire legion, the entire Wordbearers Legion to get there and stand in the ashes of the city with their Primarch. And then Guilliman was like, okay, I'm going to leave now. Big G was like, no, you are staying here. And he literally, psychically forced over 120,000 Astartes and Lorgar himself. Lorgar, he made prostrate in front of him and Guilliman.
Oh,
His
Lord.
whole legion, he made kneel. And he literally said, here is what you're supposed to be. Be better. I'm paraphrasing, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said literally when I'm paraphrasing. But he literally made him kneel in the ashes of his city. And he said, this is what happens when you disobey me. Be more like Guilliman.
That's so sad.
Like, just think about that. You have your God literally make you... He burnt your Jerusalem.
Yes.
Waited for everyone. Puts your father's face in the literal dirt and psychically forces you to kneel before the men who did it.
It's so sad. It's like straight up. It's not even a lesson at that point. That's just a punishment beyond reason.
It's humiliating torture. It's the emperor feeding his fucking ego.
Yeah.
And that's where we see the emperor as a bad person the most, is when it comes to things he... there's an old saying. It's like, if you want to see a person's true colors, do two things. Give them unlimited power or give them their most hated thing. And you gave the Big E both of those. And look what he did.
It's so sad.
The emperor is an asshole. He is the worst person to be a god or to have any power. Because he could have done anything.
Yeah, because if he was, like, going back, like, if he was a good dad, if he made the choice to be a good father in this position, he would have talked to Lorgar first more, explain as to why he can't be religious to him, explain as to why religion is an issue, then spend some time with him, really show him that he's not a true god, but he also doesn't have to search for fate. The fate that they need is already here.
Yeah.
The answers he requires are already in front of him.
Exactly. And that would have driven Lorgar. Combine that with the knowledge of chaos. Lorgar would have found his own faith.
Yeah.
He would have been fine.
Exactly.
Because Lorgar was someone who was crying out for faith, crying out to hear the voice of God. Yet, as a Christian, you will only ever hear that voice if you look inward. You are the only one who can find your faith.
Yeah.
You are the only one who can hear the voice of God through your own meditation and your own time.
Yeah.
Lorgar made the mistake of... Exactly. He made the mistake of looking for everything. He tried to get his faith verified by works, but that's not how God works.
Yeah.
It's verified through the Spirit.
Exactly.
So you need to look inward to yourself. And I know that obviously I'm talking this from a spiritual point of view, but even if that isn't your cup of tea, you will always find happiness inside yourself.
Yeah,
never
within
from
your own
outside.
mindset, within your thing, like no matter what, even if it isn't a religious point, like your friends, you shouldn't find verification in your friends. You should find verification within yourself. If you can verify your own happiness, people around you change, things around you change. You need to find.
So if your
happiness
is based off on them, you will never be happy because they're always changing. I speak from this as someone who's worked through shit. I haven't lived that long, but I've been through some shit. Working through it yourself and finding your own issues yourself, that's something that just it changes everything. Yeah. You can't find it in other people. You have to find your own happiness in yourself, and that's what Lorgar really needed.
Lorgar just needed a father that just showed him that it's okay.
I mean, shit, he said it himself. All he wanted was the truth.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that, funny enough, that Biggie didn't give him.
So sad. All right.
Fucking hate the Emperor.
Vulcan lives. Vulcan lives.
Vulcan
Woo!
lives. Vulcan lives.
Vulcan does live.
Vulcan lives.
Let's get some energy back in here. Vulcan, the boy, the legend, the man, the myth, the ultimate Chad. I fucking love Vulcan. Vulcan is just, in every sense of the word, in any character written within 40k, the perfect guy. He's just, he has his mistakes, he has his issues, but he's also so human, yet so rightful, and he just genuinely cares about everything and everyone around him, no matter what. Vulcan genuinely loves his brothers, genuinely loves his father, but also genuinely loves his family back home, and he is able to separate the two. He understands both. He has a father in war, he has a father in family, in a way. And he was mentally, by far, out of, honestly, I think all the Primarchs, the most mentally stable.
It's like him, Sanguinius, him, and I always say Sanguinius, him, and Gildat because they had the most stable upbringing.
Yeah. And
so, like,
his life was pretty rough in the beginning. They were fighting Dark Eldar and everything, but through that,
not to mention Nocturne, the planet they grew on, had something that happened known as the Time of Trials, where there would be literal new volcanoes sprouting out of earthquakes.
Yeah, like, it was radiated, it was volcanic, and, like, there's no oceans on that planet either. It's just lava and, like, a couple villages. And then they were getting raided.
Nocturnes, okay, this is, okay, so, just real quick. Biggie couldn't really do anything different. Vulcan is just the Chad, but I'm not just going to gush on Vulcan for 5 minutes. So, Nocturne's crust has more in common with a croissant than an actual tectonic structure. Number one, it was highly unstable. But I'm just going to talk about when Vulcan first entered combat. So, in his 3rd year of being there, he's fully grown. All of a sudden, the Dusk Wraiths, they come on. And then they start kidnapping people. And then his family hides there. And for really the first time in his life, Vulcan sees his family terrified. Because they're used to the fucking volcanoes exploding. They're used to that shit.
Yeah.
But the Dark Eldar are something different. And he sees his family terrified. And his family clutching and hiding in their blacksmithing shop was like, you know what? Let's just hide. Hide, Vulcan. Everything will be fine. Just hide. And he heard the screams, and seeing the fear in his parents' eyes, and hearing the fear in his other families, his community's voices, he was like, nah, fuck that. Homeboy then dual wields 2-handed smithing hammers, kicks down the front door, and is like, hey, you fucking elf, get off my planet. And his dad and his brother, well, it said, well, brother, quote unquote, some other guy, who's said to be his brother, saw this and like, I'm not going to let you go out. They then grab smithing hammers as well, and he rallies the entire village to him. And Vulcan, by himself, with 2-handed dual-wielding smithing hammers, kills 100 Dark Eldar, and just absolutely goes beast mode.
Oh my
just breaking
Lord.
their shit.
Oh.
He single-handedly slays 100 Dark Eldar. And I've heard some people be like, oh, that seems a little bit much for a Primarch. It's like, he's a motherfucking Primarch. He's motherfucking Vulcan. He's in the top 5 best melee Primarchs of all time. Motherfucker is built like a brick shithouse. He is the toughest Primarch. It's Vulcan. He slayed those Eldar, and he killed all the raiding party.
Yeah.
He's a dragon. He is Dragon Dad. He is Vulcan. He is the Vulcan lives, motherfucker. Vulcan lives.
I also really like how the Emperor did treat him, because the Emperor looked at him and was like, this is the best guy ever, oh my god. And then they had a competition as well, right? They had like a fire competition, like smithing, killing a lizard.
I mean, I'm a Salamanders fan, in case you didn't know. So like I can explain it if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay, so the way that it works is that after Vulcan smashed the Dark Elder in more ways than one, after that, they then celebrated that around the Time of Trials every year. It was like, he got rid of all the evil.
Yeah.
But one of these years also, after that, Vulcan, so there are 7 major settlements on Nocturne, because you can only have, say, 7 major settlements because of flaky crust. So they all got together, and they all proclaimed him to be the ruler of Nocturne. But he was a humble guy. He didn't want to be called an emperor or a king or a lord or a general. He was the defender of his people. So he took the title as the defender of Nocturne.
Yeah.
Fucking love Vulcan. Vulcan just
Such a
so
Chad.
good.
Such a Chad.
Such a Chad. So good. And every year Vulcan would win because he's fucking Vulcan. Because they would have a tournament to commemorate the slaying of the Dark Eldar. Vulcan would always win because he's Vulcan. Duh. But one day, a pale stranger appears, which is actually funny because the emperor canonically is said to be of Middle Eastern origin because he was born in Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
But to the Nocturnians, who are literally coal black skin texture, he was pale. So I just find that funny.
That's hilarious.
It's like, because like as an Indian, right? Imagine a motherfucker like me getting called pale. I'm like, excuse you.
Pardon me.
So Big E was like, hey, let's have a competition between me and the big guy. Whoever loses serves the other person. And everyone laughed, and Vulcan was like, Lamau, I'm Vulcan.
Go
and
ahead.
they entered to a bunch of contests. So several contests of strength and feats. One of them was holding a giant forging anvil above their head. And for anyone who's worked with an anvil, yeah, a giant one of those. So pure fucking steel. And they held it there for literal days.
Lord.
And they ended up changing it because it was a stalemate. And then there was another one where it was forging, and that forging was also a stalemate. And then there was other things like, racing and then like climbing, stalemate. So ultimately they were like, okay, right, let's stop this now. We have these giant salamanders known as fire drakes, the largest and greatest salamanders. Also, side note, Vulcan's name doesn't actually come from the god of forges. It actually comes from the name of the king of the salamanders. Because the king of the salamanders on Vulcan of the fire drakes is known as Vulcan. So his dad, Nabel, named Vulcan after the lord of the salamanders because he had a prophecy saying that his son would save them and become the lord of the salamanders.
Yeah, so he would become Vulcan.
Yeah.
All right.
So they decide we're going to kill the biggest one. So Big E made a sword because Big E liked sword, and Vulcan made a hammer because bonk.
Big bonk.
So then they go out into, and right now it's the time of trial. So as I said, flaky crust, it's dangerous, but they're Primarchs and the Emperor, so who gives a shit? So they end up going out and they're looking for these big lizards, right? So Vulcan finds a good-sized lizard. So then he charges it straight forward, tanks the fire, and just gives it a two-handed whack over the head and conks it in one. Because he's fucking Vulcan. He is the salamander.
This
He's
is
like,
what he
I
does.
am the king.
He's the best.
Like, yeah, bonk, motherfucker, bonk. Then he grabs his salamander over one shoulder, and then he decides, you know what, I'm gonna go now. But then, lo and behold, the Earth decided that'd be a good place for a new volcano. So the Earth split open, and Vulcan nearly fell over. So he managed to grab one hold of the ledge with the one hand, and he grabbed the salamander by the other hand. The salamander being a giant motherfucker that's several tons big, and like, God, it's the dragon basically.
Yeah, it's probably like weight-wise, like 2 trucks at least.
Yeah, bigger even, because these guys are said to literally be, like, some of the largest salamanders of Nocturne are said to be equated to like Titans minus the legs in terms of their sheer durability and shit.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, they're they're chunky motherfuckers. So he then, so this is a part of where Vulcan comes in, because Vulcan, much like myself, I love Vulcan. Vulcan is like, I don't know if he's my favorite Primarch because Sanguinius and Horus exist, but like Vulcan's up there.
Vulcan's
But
definitely
one of the
there for me
things-
too.
Yeah, because one of the things that we have in common is that we can both be very stubborn, and it's the good thing where we don't give up. But this is one of the cases where it can become bad. Vulcan was like, I'm not letting go of the salamander. And he proceeds to hang there for several hours,
Yeah.
like literal hours, over a day. But then all of a sudden, Big E comes in with an even bigger salamander, somehow. And when he sees Vulcan, he then chucks his salamander into the pool of lava, and it does nothing because the salamanders have fireproof skin. And he grabs Vulcan and Vulcan's salamander and reaches him to safety, back to the settlement.
Yeah.
And when they reached the settlement, everyone praised Vulcan as the winner because he had a salamander. Big E did not. But it was at this point that Vulcan then stopped the crowd and he took a knee and he kneeled before the Emperor. And Vulcan was rumored to say, any man worth putting his pride aside to save the life of another is worthy of my service.
Aw. So like that's a good dad moment. It could have been like that for other Primarchs. He did it great with Vulcan. That's why Vulcan, no matter what, will always be like one of the most loyalist Primarchs. Yeah.
He, like I said, for me, he's in top 3.
Yeah.
But I don't like crediting the Big E with anything because I hate Big E. So I think this was just a ploy because he knew that this would happen, that this was how to get Vulcan. Same thing with Russ. Like he knew what to do.
He knew
like I said,
calculation.
The most loyal Primarchs got the best treatment, and I don't like Big E. So this is definitely me being biased because I hate Big E. But yeah, that's the story of how Vulcan met Big E.
That's quite interesting. In that regard, Big E, even in the setting that we now are mind building that as if what if the Emperor was a good dad, he wouldn't have had to change much with Vulcan. Vulcan
he wouldn't have to change anything.
Perfectly.
He was perfect. He perfect with Vulcan.
Honestly, just like Jagatai Khan, came out perfectly.
Yeah, perfect.
Immediately.
Both. Again, not because the Emperor was good, because both of them are just chads.
Now, one of the next ones, he did honestly do a pretty decent job with it, but not really.
Yeah, see, for the next one, you're going to have to take over because I really don't know much about the Bird Boy, except that he's emo and listens to My Chemical Romance.
All right, so for...
Also, he's a fucking demon now, which is cool as shit.
Yes. So, Corvus Corax is a latent Psyker Primarch that grew up in... It was, in a way, kind of like Conrad Curse. It's a
Deliverance.
A very similar situation, but in his case, it was a semi-form of Dark Mechanicus that he had to do. Because he...
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, he was born on the moon of a Dark Mechanicus world. But I can only describe as a Dark Mechanicus world. And this moon...
And the Forge world was named Kievar.
There you go. So he was born on Deliverance. And in Deliverance, this was a mining world. And as a Primarch, living in these halls, which are literal tunnels underneath the moon, as a big guy, it's not quite comfortable. And being a big guy, you're gonna get mistreated a bunch, and you're gonna get put on the worst works. Well, it didn't take long for him and the people around him to figure out, hey, maybe this guy's a little bit more than just a human. And he went through absolute hell. In the end, he started a rebellion against the Mechanicum overlords, and was able to get both Deliverance and the planet right next to it. Which was the name? I forget.
Kievar?
Kievar.
Kievar. Bingo.
Kievar. Right. So he was able to take over Kievar and mostly cleanse it of any of the bad side of Mechanicus. Because there was also like some good manufactoriums there that were actually decent. So over time he was able to... Oh, really? Yeah, because like it's a manufacturing
I thought it was just like purely... I didn't know they were loyalists. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, it was like a corruption that was within the government of the Forge World, and then Conrad kind of cleansed that out, from what I understand from the story. So,
Conrad?
Conrad, sorry, Corvus. God, they have such similar names.
Conrad cleansed a lot of things. The problem was there was no one left with Conrad.
Yeah, Conrad did not cleanse shit. Well, he did cleanse with blood. Corvus, on the other hand, he was just doing a guerrilla like warfare on anything because he had to fight from tunnels. So he got really good. But he was also a psychic, like latent psyker, which over time he realized he was able to...
He can go invisible.
He can go invisible. He can melt into the shadows. Which is terrifying. And
it really is when you consider how fucking big he is.
And when the Emperor showed up, he had already kind of done it all. He had already kind of like gotten his planet together. Barely.
Like Biggie just give him a bunch of nukes and be like, here, have some fun, kiddo.
Yeah, like it was just a case of like, here's weaponry to make sure that nobody ever will do anything against your planet. Now here's also a Legion, go have fun.
Just hands him nukes. Yeah, you're doing okay. Here's a few nukes.
Yeah, I remember I think there were a couple last patches of like Dark Mechanicum on that planet, and it was just like, hey, go nuke him.
I mean, it's a Mechanicus world, so it's already fucked up. Even though canonically Kievar is supposed to have forests, but it's a forest world, so I don't know how that works.
It's 40k sometimes. It's what it is.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Who cares? It was mainly the moon, which was a mining plan, which was the main reason why Corvus got all his skills, and also why the Emperor very much respected him, because he did start from 0 and got all the way up to technically leading the planet even below by just sheer will. So he didn't have many conversations with the Emperor. He got found kind of lost as well, like one of the last ones. Took a little while to find him. Yeah, he was very, very late. So he wasn't in power of his legion very long before the Horus Heresy even started. That's also why a lot of other legions felt really weird about him, because he had his really weird fighting tactics that the other Space Marines had never seen before. Like sneaking and sniping and like subterfuge and like blowing up a building that is not supposed to be there and shit like that. They were not like the other guys, which we're going to be talking about in a moment, but they were very sneaky, but were also very good.
The main difference between them and the next chaps is that these guys, they are spec ops.
Yeah.
They are in what's known as asymmetrical warfare. They target supply lines, supply networks. They move in shadows and strikes in stealth. So think of your Green Berets, Deltas, etc. They're meant for high priority. These are the special forces. The other guys we're going to talk about, they're espionage, they're saboteurs, they're counterintelligence. That's different.
Yeah.
The main difference being that these guys, the Raven Guard, they work in a military sense. Their main job is military. They work in military areas, in military theaters and combat. Whereas the other guys, they work in more of a behind-the-scenes civilian type role.
Yeah. The biggest issue with the Emperor, dad-wise, to Conrad is just the fact that he didn't spend too much time with him. It was very short. It was like
probably like Conrad again. I forgot the other guy's name.
Jeez, Corvus.
Corax.
Corvus.
They really do have similar names,
right?
Jesus.
Now that you're saying it, right, it gets really hard. You see, guys, this is what happens when you don't script. Even as a lore YouTuber, you will confuse names like Conrad and Corvus on like a regular basis.
But 40k's naming sequence is either a toss-up. You get some of the greatest names ever, like the Custodes, Sally Forth, or like the Gene Stealers, a planned generations in the making. But then you have Wolf Guard, Wolf Scout, Wolf Lord, Wolf Fury, Cyber Wolf,
Ferrus Manus,
Long Tank, Iron Hands,
Ferrus Manus, like or Corvus Corax, which literally just means Bird. It's just Bird.
What the fuck?
But yeah, the only issue with Corvus when it comes to his upbringing is that he never really had a father, he never really had a mother, he had to do it all himself, and the Emperor didn't give him too much time. But the Emperor also
didn't... Dad.
The Emperor also didn't give him that much like bad stuff either. There were no bad interactions. It was just like, hey son, good job you did here. Here's a legion. Go have fun.
Yeah.
Like, which is funny that the best way the Emperor
Corvus
can be a
is
dad.
like the standard emo teen.
Yeah.
The best way that the Emperor is being a dad is by not being a dad.
Yeah, he's just, and now he's a goddamn demon. He's become a demon.
Yeah, dude, but that needs to be a topic for one of our next episodes, because that's cool as fuck.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
That's cool as fuck.
All right, let's talk about the last Primarchs. There's an S at the end. Primarchs. Because for some that may not know, and you probably do know if you've been in 40k longer than 2 minutes.
I mean, my fans do know. Because I have a lot of Alpha Legion fans. I don't know why.
I don't. So anyone here that doesn't know about the Alpha Legion, the Alpha Legion has 2 Primarchs, a twin, and
they're also fuckers. Because I had to do research on their video, and my god, the pain.
Yeah. Alpha Legion lore is on a different level of existence. That stuff should not exist.
I'm going to do this now. So there's a book, right? Each Primarch has a canonical book, except for Ferrus Manus. Why? I don't know. But every Primarch has a canonical book. Mm-hmm. And in this one, we have 2, Ferrus and Omegon, because as Dutch was saying before I started ranting about the Alpha Legion, they have 2 Primarchs. Due to warp shenanigans, the Primarchs were split. So one has half a soul, the other has half a soul. Yeah. They're known as Ferrus and Omegon. I'm not going into their story because no one really knows, because the opening line and the closing line of the book is literally this. I'm not joking, verbatim. This is the beginning of the book, the first words after the foreword, and the last word before the book ends.
Okay.
I am Alfarius. This is a lie.
God damn it.
At the canonical start of the book, that's there. And at the canonical end, that's
God.
also there.
That's like, this is the reason that I'm probably never gonna do an Alpha Legion video, because I'm actually gonna fucking go insane if I have to go try to figure out that lore.
Don't do it. The amount of times I found lore on specific, I think it's on specifics. It's like, oh my god, it's so fucking frustrating because it's like, this is a lie. We captured this agent, but we don't know because he killed himself. This is also a lie. This is also a lie. The amount of things that said this is also a lie or we're unsure. And I'm anal about this, right? So I don't include something unless I'm 100% sure. And if I do include it, I make sure to clearly state that, oh, we're not sure. But if I did that for the Alpha Legion, that'd be most of the fucking video.
Yeah.
And what's annoying is because you get stories like I think it's the red consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Or the blue consoles. It was a Space Marine chapter, and it gives you an in-depth story as to how the Alpha Legion sabotaged them. So they first started out by deploying a Space Hulk. So the first company of the blue consoles, or the Crimson consoles, that's it, of the Crimson consoles, then decide to send their first company along, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, cool. The first company goes, they clear it, but it turns out that as they're clearing the Space Hulk, someone set explosive charges. Kaboom! The entire first company is wiped out, including all their Terminator suits. Then you have the third and fourth company, who were fighting Tau in the what's the name of the Tau warfare zone? Damocles Gulf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're fighting there. Then all of a sudden, they get a message that, hey, Tau are going to be attacking you from your rear. So, okay, they go and fight the Tau at the rear. It turns out that they walked directly into a Tau ambush. But the signal that came from was Imperium. Who could have done that? And the Alpha Legion baited the entire world of the Tau to descend on them in that one spot only, and they annihilated them to a man because the entire fucking planet was after them.
I wonder how.
And then we have the stories of the 5th and the 6th Company, which were fighting orcs, and they were doing pretty okay, until the Necron tomb world that they were on so happened to woke up. Who woke it up, I wonder?
What a coincidoink. That is a definite coincidoink. I don't know what's happening. Yeah.
And then you have the 7th, 6th, and 9th chapters. All right, they're on their way through the warp, and they're traveling to reach the point. Because at this point, their chapter master column's like, "Oh, okay, shit's fucked. Come home."
Yeah, please.
Their warp drive malfunctions. They get stuck in the warp.
I fucking hate the Alpha Legion. I fucking just hate the Alpha Legion.
And then you have what remains of the second company, right?
Yeah.
And the people on the planet. They're like, okay, we need to go. All of a sudden, the chapter master then hears the click of a bolter as his entire command staff is murdered by the gods. It turns out that the Alpha Legion had actually, because the Crimson Consoles they had one chapter master that was always out. So they actually, you can't corrupt an Astartes. They're immune to brainwashing, right?
Yeah.
You can't corrupt a neophyte.
God damn it.
So what they did is that they poisoned the food and the water of the planet with psycho agents, like 100 years before this happened. So that when the child of the planet would get inducted to Astartes, he already had that preset brain code in his head that would be triggered by a code word.
Yeah.
So when they were already grown Astartes, that indoctrination was already there since they were kids.
God.
So the Alpha Legion just said it, and all of a sudden, they all died.
Blam, blam, blam. What the fuck?
That's
just the thing about the Alpha Legion.
No, we're not done yet.
Oh my god, there's more? Oh.
There's more. So then the chapter master then hearing this, escapes in a berserk rage and kills everyone. He reaches his own private armory and seals the door shut, breaking the lock so he can't get out. And he goes to grab his personal bolt gun. And he stands and he sees his chapter self, his personal chapter self, his best friend, it was said, holding a gun up to his head. And his bolter. And he says, and I quote, Hydra Dominatus, before shooting the bolter, killing him because he's a serf and it's a fucking heavy bolter.
Yeah.
And the chapter master square in the head.
Jeez.
That's what the Alpha Legion could be. And I fucking love that because, God, that's so good. But instead I get, the Alpha Legion infiltrated the Neophyte ranks and killed them all. Ugh. That's it. Because the Alpha Legion, right?
Alpha Legion moment. God, the Alpha Legion lore-wise could be so good. And their stories, so like, some of their stories are to that level. And some of their other stories are just completely out of the picture, like completely random.
It's so dumb.
And
so dumb.
That's just a case of, I don't like saying that within the 40k setting, but a lot of the Alpha Legion lore is just badly written. Terribly written. And
mainly because they always feel the need to add, this could be a lie, so they can retcon it.
Yeah. And that's just a terrible thing about, like, in this case, for our conversation for what if the Emperor was a good dad? We don't know with the Alpha Legion. We don't know how much they knew. We don't know how much they talked about. We think Alpharius was there first, like the very first Primarch to ever be found. But it might be Omegon, but it also may just not have happened at all.
It could be Alpharius because it's said that Alpharius was actually Omegon originally, because when Alpharius when Horus met Omegon, it was actually said to be Alpharius because Alpharius had met Omegon before Horus had gotten there, and Alpharius and Omegon actually switched each other's names because Alpharius was originally named Omegon and Omegon was originally named Alpharius. So they switched their names and they kept it so that Omegon was actually only found by Horus when Alpharius wanted him to be found by Horus, because there was a prophecy regarding it that fuck it, I give up.
It's too hard.
Give up. Fuck it, man.
This is the issue with Alpha Legion as a whole. It's so hard to figure out their lore, so I understand the mental breakdown. It's so hard. It's genuinely hard. So without a script, it's nearly impossible to talk about Alpha Legion. Really? But anyway, for the conversation,
because there actually is like lore, but I wasn't taking the piss. That's actually fucking written lore.
It's so hard. And it's like so confusing as well. It makes no sense. They just like adding that extra spice to it.
The only thing I can think of for Alphar is that he was said to be arrogant, in a way, because he was said to be, you know what, like, I was the first, I know everything, actually, y'all don't know me, Lamau. So maybe the Biggie could be a better dad, but we really don't know, especially with the rift between him and Alpharius that wasn't really explored much in the book. It was more just Alpharius, and we didn't really get much of Omegon. So, like you said, I don't really know.
We don't really know what it could have been. In this case, probably lore-wise, we would have not really have known a difference in the end for the Alpha Legion themselves. The Alpha Legion made a lot of their own decisions, so...
Yeah. The difference would have been they would have been written better.
But with that... Ooh, that's the wrong one. There we go. With that, we have now discussed all the Primarchs. And I think, honestly, the most...
Oh, that is good artwork.
So, with most of, like, all the Primarchs...
Oh, look at Sanguinius. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I had that piece up for a while.
Oh, God, that's so good.
Yeah, so now for...
Is that Lorgar next to him?
No, it was... Shall I click back to it? It's Bobby G with him. That's for the Imperial Secundus.
No. I'm talking about the one... Or am I behind?
You'll be behind on the stream for a little bit. For those people that do not know for Hammertalk, because this will also be on the Hammertalk channel, please check it out and like and subscribe if you haven't already. We live stream for now on the Gaming Storyteller channel, and we also always link it to General Bradley's channel over here, making sure that it's on all our platforms, because we just want to share the love, and I think it's a quite fun and interesting podcast.
It is. Ideally, eventually, when Hammertalk starts getting a good audience, we'll like migrate all of that there.
Yeah, definitely.
Properly. But for now, the more people who see it, the better.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think if the Emperor was a good dad? In this case, we have discussed all the Primarchs, a little bit of the overall backstory as to why he was the way he is. And with every Primarch, we get a very good perspective of how much better, at least their lives could have been. Maybe not the universe, but at least their lives, their personal lives and their personal feelings could have been.
I mean,
if the Emperor was just a
would
good dad.
Yeah, their universe would have been better because
Yeah.
prior to that, at that point in time, they had the biggest impact on the universe.
They
the
did.
Primarchs. And you said it yourself exactly. Big E is a human at the end of the day, and his humanity, the worst part of him, shows through most.
Yeah.
Because he is arrogant and he has a god complex, and that comes through. He didn't see these people as people; he saw them as tools to his own end. He's selfish.
Yeah.
And because of his selfish nature, he ended up ruining the lives of these 20 men who look to him as a father. And we get the most rational of them, Guilliman, discovering the truth.
Yeah.
Conor Guilliman was my father. He, the Emperor, is my creator. That's cold, man.
That
when you
is.
think about it.
God, that was
That's
quite
rough.
a fun conversation about the Primarchs. That
Oh,
was
it's-
a great conversation about what the Emperor could have done and could have been. And I think we will sadly, of course, never see it, but it's just a nice, fun fan theory to have. It's a little bit more positive than most grimdark things in the 40k setting.
Yeah,
40k
'cause,
likes to
most,
be so
fan theories.
overly grimdark, and also the Dorian
Yeah.
heresy and the Robuchian heresy. But we can also talk about some positive things for once. What if he was a good
Yeah.
guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where again, most people think 40k is grimdark, but you need to understand, throughout the entirety of human history, humanity has always found a way to thrive. And I
Yeah.
always say this, there are civilized worlds in 40k that have our current 21st century time and space, and they live happy lives. But again, that's not the focus. Again, like I said, with the IG, the Imperial Guard, they're elite soldiers, like they're quality men. But we never see them being quality because the whole point is to show you, hey, there's a giant demon space marine that's ripping him in half. Shit's going to shit.
Yeah,
That's the whole point of it.
exactly. So it's nice to approach it once, just this whole setting. The Primarchs, the characters we connect to as humans the most, because the Primarchs were written for us to connect to directly. He's just like
Yeah.
for me for real. It's nice to have the theory.
Also,
like,
they
what if
don't-
it was nice.
Yeah, they don't suffer from the space marine issue because they're not psycho-indoctrinated.
Yeah, they're just kids.
Yeah. Okay, next time we want to do something, we need to have a what if each Primarch got to build their own ideal empire?
Oh, Imperial 20.
Yeah.
I don't know numbers. I'm sorry, I'm drunk.
Ooh, dude, imagine a horde, a Mongol empire led by the Khan.
Oh,
Yo,
yo.
guardsmen on bikes.
Yo, just the Imperium shaped by the Primarchs, and then we can go through the whole list of the 20 Primarchs. That'd be
Yes.
super interesting.
Yo, but did you know what I learned from like a commenter on my YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
The Guard doesn't have any jump pack infantry.
Correct.
Like they don't have any jump pack models. Like what the fuck?
True, they had the Elysians, but those were graph shoots.
But still, they don't have anything. Like my fucking Harakoni Warhawks, some of these dropships. What do you mean? Paratroopers are a big thing in 40k.
Yep. All right, to finish off
Damn.
the video, thank you all for watching. We very much appreciate all the people that have been in the stream. The stream reaction has been amazing so far. Also, thank you for the performance on the last
Yeah,
video.
this is only our second episode.
This is only a second episode. We've just started. And we weren't even sure if we were going to start it today, but we did.
Okay, so for those of you who were wondering, Dutch is drunk as a motherfucker. I am tired as a motherfucker.
Yeah, it's been a long
But
day.
I was just about to say, like, do you have anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I think we have covered exactly what I wanted to cover. And I just want to ask,
Yeah, no, we've definitely covered everything.
I'm quite happy about this. And I hope you enjoyed it, because I definitely enjoyed it. It was a great time.
That was always quality. Look, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's always quality to have y'all join us here, because when two nerds talk about two things that they love, it's always quality. But without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I have been General Bradley 101. You have been beautiful, awesome, and amazing people. Thank you very much to my dear, lovely fellow Dutch 40K, aka the Gaming Storyteller.
Yes,
Go and check out his channel. That will be linked below on the stream. Check out Hammertalk, our podcast channel that we do together. If you want to learn about obscure what-if nonsense scenarios, then join and click that like button. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Check out my channel, General Bradley 101, for shenaniganery of the highest order. And we will see you next week with a brand spanking new episode. Thank you very much for watching. Comment down below. What will you think? Okay, who do you think would have benefited the most out of the Emperor being a good dad? I mean, you already know our answer. Angron, definitely.
Yep.
I think that's for both of us.
Yep.
But who do you think would benefit the most? Let us know down in the comments below. But otherwise, have a bloody awesome, amazing day. Thank you all very much for watching, and we will see